has said about agriculture. Yeah, and I know it's doom doom doom. Sorry about that, Peter, but it's the situation. Um, Last year, a report was released by Root to Food called Toxic Business. Basically, what is happening is that, like Malia said, we are accepting pesticides which are banned in Europe and other parts of the world and using them here. And it is happening. The government knows what is happening. They are turning a blind eye. And why are they turning a blind eye? Because of the Monsantos and the Syngentas who are the ones who own these pesticides. Wamelipwa na mlango ya nyuma. So, what are we doing about it? For these agricultural bills, I think there are 9 of them. There is a movement called Kilimo cha Haki. I'm not sure whether you guys know about it. Yeah, Kilimo cha Haki is going to court to fight all the bills because if any one of them comes into effect, it impacts you and me and the generations to come. Now, let me give you a bit of perspective. Yeah, these bills, um, some of them require that a farmer be licensed. So you'll have to pay to farm, to even to even plant what you've been planting, what the previous generations have been planting without having to have a license. These guys want to control production. Now, the current situation, the way it is that we are poor by design. Let me repeat, we are poor by design. There are certain powers that be that do not want us to be food secure. And why do I say that? In the finance bill 2024, they decided to tax bread. And yet they know 15 million Kenyans are food poor. 15 million. That's almost 38%. That's almost 40%. And 40% is basically 2 in every 5 Kenyans are food poor. And yet they decide to tax bread. Yeah? That's one perspective. Another perspective is this. There is, you see, for there to be food security, there are certain things that need to come into play. So there is the aspect of production and consumption. If production is equal to consumption, it means the country is food sufficient. Therefore, we don't need to import, we don't need to export, we can feed our people. If production is higher than consumption, it means the surplus we can export, which means we generate foreign exchange as a result. However, our current situation is our production is lower than consumption, which means we have to import. And that is again by design because certain people are the ones who own these import companies. So they design it so that we require imports. Yeah. And then they play the politics of poverty. What do I mean by that? During the finance bill, again, 2024, the MPs that voted yes could not go back to their constituencies. So one MP, I forget from where, decided that since he wanted to go back to his constituency, he bought bales of unga and went with them to his constituency. And he was welcomed kwa sababu amekuja na unga. And again, it begs the question, why is it during elections there is the issue of unga, the price of unga? But after that story dies down. It's the politics of poverty. Yeah. So let me try and get someone from Kilimo Chahaki to talk more about that, so that you guys can at least be more informed of what is happening, what may happen, and what we are actually doing, yeah, to prevent these things from happening. Thank you, Pipita.
Thank you for that. You see, Sheila Nyangara has joined us. Thanks so much, data activist, for that submission, of course. Sheila, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Peter?
I am well. Karibu sana.
Asante. Now, I think that activist has really spelled out quite a lot of what is happening. My name is Sheila Nyangara. I'm a passionate Kenyan. I'm also a real estate financial consultant, and I'm in the business industry. Now, watu wenye wako kwa business, you can really tell, and aside even from telling, you can feel vile economy imeenda vibaya, and we have there are many significant um, factors that play into the economy, and the biggest one for me is spending power. Once you lock on or you squeeze the spending power of the people of a nation, you are affecting all aspects of the economy, whether ni real estate, whether ni technology, whether ni food, whether ni school, whether ni education. Because if I cannot now, I'll give a small example. My friends and I were having lunch yesterday at Wilson, and we were discussing Safari Sevens. Safari Sevens is coming up, but I think people who, even if you're not in sports, there was some hype to Safari Sevens, yeah, and you find that kulikuwa na time hata Safari Sevens ilikuwa, I think, in Nyayo. I don't know, was some years back, and most people did not even know about it. But the way our economy has been dwindling it's not just in this government. For over 10 years, the economy imekuwa ikienda tu chini na hakuna, and I don't think the politicians who have power are willing or even have the intellectual capacity to solve what is happening, because what they are looking at is their selfishness. They are looking at their pockets. It's not the bigger picture, and that is what we need. We need someone who has a vision, who's looking at the collective livelihood of Kenyans. Now back to the Safari Sevens and how purchasing power trickles down to everybody. So if there's Safari Sevens and I know about it, I'll come. Maybe if I want to eat nitakuja maybe before nitembelee marafiki wangu hapo Nairobi West. All the eateries and bars in Nairobi, by the way, people who, I'm giving an example of Nairobi West because that's one of the places that it was very active. It was almost like a 24-hour economy. Right now, you'd go and places are empty by around even 11, because we left Wilson and we passed there to get something, and at around by 11 the place was already a bit quiet and revelers were few. So your Safari Sevens, where when that happens, after the games are over, people would go to eat. The transport sector, kuna matatu mingi zinakuja hapo because Safari Sevens is on and people are full. And right now, people don't even, there's no hype to Safari Sevens. It's now maybe just people who are really interested, or very few people with spending power. Na hata ukienda huko, pesa hakuna, disposable income imekuwa kidogo. So to me, I think everything is going wrong. When you look at VAT, the Mbadi, who is now the CS for Manyako kwa Treasury, he had some proposals za ku reduce VAT, but the National Assembly is not open to it. Because I don't know why they're not open to it. But imagine if VAT is reduced, that means more people are able to afford the products. That means more people are brought into the tax bracket, what the government wants. And me, I'm not against including more people in the tax bracket. But I'm more into, okay, first of all, our taxes are being misused. Atuambiwi vile pesa inaenda, vile pesa itarudi. Pesa ikiibiwa, no one is accountable, nothing is coming back to the country, nothing is coming back to the national coffers. So unapata we feel wasted. Ni kama mzazi wako akupatie pesa akwambia okay, maybe enda driving school, urudi hata ujui kuendesha gari, hiyo pesa umekula, and then you want more. Your parent will look at you like, okay, sasa inakusaidiaje, and there is no value for the money. So first of all, the government should focus on enforcing the disciplines of mechanisms of bringing back our pesa zenye zimebiwa na resources zenye zimebiwa. And it's not only money that is being stolen. When you look at these construction sites that people are, watu wanamulika kina Morara and other Kenyans who are on ground, unaona hata materials za kujenga ziko na ziliko kwa site. So it's not just money that is going, and we need to know that our interests are the hearts of these politicians. Today I've seen Gladys Sholay saying we give the government time and history will judge them. We cannot, the way it's going, we cannot wait for history to judge it. We are judging them now by the day. Every single step they take. Mtoto mkunje angali mchanga. Hawa wanataka tungoje saa zile samaki imekauka ati sasa ndio tunataka kukunja samaki ikaya a certain way. To me, the economy has gone bad. Now, when we go to the real estate sector where I work, and I look at the commercial sector, offices are closing down. My foundation is in commercial real estate and diplomatic residence. So residential property inakujanga just when my company now gets into agency, like now with Safaricom Investment in the agency department. Watu hawawezi kuafford hizi nyumba. You find that off-plan is not the best way to go, but the government is not even supporting the off-plan housing. Kama affordable housing inafika 5 million, if your house is above 5 million, the government does not have any tax incentives to cushion that development. Back to commercial, offices are closing down. So if I had a house, maybe 1 acre in Karen, and I was charging 650,000 for office space, na huyu mtu afunge, that means my property no longer, it will take me almost 6 months to a year or even more kupata tenant anakuja hapo. Na mimi ninalipa, and we know most of those properties are only, I'm paying taxes for that property, I'm paying maintenance for that property. It is hard to me from where I'm sitting. It is very difficult for people to survive. I don't know how other sectors are surviving. Ukiangalia, there's a friend of mine who does branding. Anaenda kuitisha pesa kwa kampuni kona invoice kubwa. People are not able to pay. There's no money circulating in the economy, and if money does not circulate because people do not have that disposable income, businesses will not grow, businesses will shut down. And I think the government, I stand to be corrected. Most of these bills, because there's a show niliwatch, a certain show I watched on Linguge. I'll put the link here, mwangalie. And the government is selling us, not even trying, auctioning Kenyans to multinationals. Now, when you do that, Kenyans are unable to they cannot reach that spending your bracket ya kuspend. Kama mkate right now, bread is the cheapest ni 65, ile yenye tulikuwa tunanunua 40 ikapande ikafika 50, ikakaa 50 for a very long time. Mkate inaenda ikipande inafika 65. Now if you are eating 2 loaves of bread in your household, mta reduce to 1 loaf of bread. The shopkeeper kama alikuwa ananunua crate za mikate kama 10 a day, haiwezi uza hizo 10 kwa sababu zitaharibika, so ata reduce to buying 5 crates. Now if he's buying 5 crates from the wholesaler kama alikuwa anachukua maybe 1,000 or 500 crates from the distributor at a reduced to probably half. Now the distributor kwa kampuni ya Superloaf enye inatengeneza hizo, because they have branches of bakeries, the ones I know, South B, South C. If the South C bakery iko na nini inaitwaje, ile mark yenye umejipatia ya per day or per week, because now this is a fast moving consumer good, so you cannot give it a long period. Unasema maybe sisi tutakuwa tuna count after every 2 days or every day tumeuza how many crates of bread. They will reduce, the number goes reducing. So hiyo tax yenye wana remit back to the government inaendelea kukua kidogo. So it starts from you. If you cannot pay for a matatu to come from maybe Kibera to town and you decide to walk, that's a matatu owner who is not able to get this money, who is not able to meet the amount enye atalipa conductor ama driver. Conductor and also hataweza kulipa maybe kama kona mortgage. We are giving an example of how people are living in Kenya. Most of us are living on a lot of loans. We need a lot of financial cushioning. Kwanza, by the way, on that, I might be jumping, but I think tunaelewa. Let me just summarize this up. Did you know mortgage? Yeah, people in parliament, parliamentarians in the National Assembly, governors, need a fixed 3%. That is their interest rate ya kuget mortgage. Na sisi yetu, unaweza enda, aside from the affordable one ya Kenya Mortgage Refinance, which is 9.5%, unaenda na ya bank. Kama nyumba yako ni more than 10.5 M, that's now the maximum enye nyumba yako inafaa kukua for you to access a mortgage of 9.5% interest. Unaenda na ya bank. Kama ni 13, 15, hiyo ndio unaenda nayo. So most Kenyans cannot afford homes. We need to make, for me, the policy makers, we need to make people who go into government, we need to make it very unlucrative because they are playing politics on our livelihoods. Sisi to make their lives easier so that, we give them vehicles, we fuel those vehicles so that they are able to move around the country comfortably. We give them drivers so that they are not tired when they are driving around the country. We give them, what else do we give them? We make sure their cars, imagine 300,000 ya gari per month, maintaining a vehicle, so that they are comfortable. But them, instead of coming to parliament or wherever they sit, and so that they can make policies that make it comfortable for Kenyans to live, they make it harder. Why is it so hard for the treasury to sit down with the central bank and come up with interest rates that favor banks so that it trickles down to me to get a favorable interest? Why is it that KMRC had to be formed? I see why it had to be formed. But if the CBK could work very well with treasury to come up with favorable interest that go across to banks so that CC to party, so that I can own a home, you can own a home, you can even gift someone a home. It is possible for you to gift, unaweza nunua nyumba, you give a gift deed to somebody. But now it's very hard. It has become a country of the rich. It's no longer a country of the citizen. And I hate that we even call ourselves common mwananchi. That is already, it's already derogatory to us. Mimi nikiamka hivi, mimi am a common mwananchi, na mimi ndio nimechagua mtu aende ani represent. That does not make them above me. That should even make them humble. It should bring humility. But when you hear how people talking, Millie was saying the other day in the assembly that vichwa akili za MPs collectively ni kubwa kushinda zetu. They can think much better than all of us. Over 50 million Kenyans, you want to tell us because you're sitting there, it's because they're hoarding information. And I thank God that Kenyans, we have come together and we are trying, we are tunachimba everywhere possible. Right now, our agricultural sector is at threat. Our food security is at threat. The horticulture bill that was tabled by Sabina Chege. It's not at my grandmother cannot wake up in the morning, apende maua, aseme, mi sasa nataka kulima maua, and wake up, and she cannot do that. That's what that agricultural bill wants to inataka kufinyilia Kenyans from doing that horticulture business. It wants to make it expensive. You have to get a license, they have to do your soil test, they have to test the seeds. I don't know by the seed bill imefika wapi, because it had passed and it was being contested in Machakos. I don't know kama kuna mtu anajua, but and the fact that our government, instead of making us comfortable as Kenyans, they are threatening us. Today morning, my mom was telling me, Sheila, you need to change how your page is on Twitter. You don't know who is tracking you, those people. And I was wondering, don't I have freedom of speech? Can't I say that the president I elected is no longer representing my interests? Don't I have that right? We are seeing our sisters and brothers and cousins and fellow Kenyans being killed left, right, and center just because they are complaining of how hard the economy is becoming. Saa hii pencil moja hivi ni ubwendo uangalie ni price ni pesa ngapi. You wake up in the morning, you don't know if you're able to eat. You don't know if you'll be able to go to work. You don't know if you have a car, if you'll be able to fuel it or service it. Utaamka asubuhi upate maybe spare part imepanda ama oil imepanda. So fellow Kenyans, I think the state of the economy is in dire. We are tuko chini kabisa, and I would like to encourage all of us to endelee. Sometimes we feel helpless, but we need to keep at it. We need to keep shouting, because the people in power have also invested resources to stay in power. You know, it's power is good, but all of us cannot be in power. But the people we elect need to be humane enough to use that power for the good of us as Kenyans collectively. Juu watoto wao si ati wataishi majuu forever. They have extended family here, so they cannot all take the extended family away. And lastly, I would like to enlighten people about the Punguza Mizigo Constitutional Amendment Bill of 2019 that was authored by a Kuro Court. That bill was, the main intention was to, actually not the main intention, it was to reduce the cost of governance. Our cost of governance, first of all, we spend almost, I think, 3 billion a year to facilitate the National Assembly. There are benefits, vile wanakula, hizo vitu zote. Kwanza ukiangalia benefits zenye wanatumia, we need to reduce the cost of governance, and then we need to look at the quality of people we send to represent us and what they stand for. Kama hiyo example ya huyo MP kwanza waonga, that MP talks, he's very disrespectful to the electorate. So tuendelee civic education. For me, I think the economy is very bad. Standing from the real estate sector, it is bad. It is terrible. Wires inapanda. Okay, naweza ongea paka forever. Wacha nimalizie hapo. But
Yeah.
small things feed into the other. Now ukisema kitu haiko affect, tuseme wewe hauko kwa mjengo, but all of us work to own a home, si ndio? It will become expensive.
Yeah.
Kama steel ni wakipandisha pesa ya steel, inahitaji ile steel ya nini, just something small, wakipandisha bei na inatumika kujenga nyumba yako, hiyo inaongeza cost of construction. Yeah.
A bag of cement right now is going for 950, yeah?
Pardon?
A bag of cement right now is going for 950.
Imagine that. Na ati wewe ulikuwa unasema 10 years ago you are saving ujenge nyumba, itabidi umeendelea kufanya kazi kama punda so that ukuwe na nyumba yako. Saa hii shamba ndio hizo hatujui title inapotea aje shwali. How does a title get lost? Mimi I want to invest in agriculture, ati nimenunua 2 acres, nataka kuplant hapo tomatoes, ukuje uniambie ati hiyo title inaweza kuwa encumbered because the paper that was meant to print it that has that serial number imepotea. Hapa River Road si wana printing hizo title deed, watu wangapi hapa River, hata watu hawajui story ya register, hawajui signature ya registrar inakuwa ngapi. Then you tell us the government that is supposed to protect those papers, sasa ati zile original papers zimepotea na huku nje tuko na fake. Tell me how we can survive with an economy like that. Economy starts from policies. And policies are with individuals who are supposed to protect the small aspects of policies. Kitu kama yani me, I'm very angry. I'm a very angry Kenyan, but I'm very happy that we are woke. It may take us a long time, but step by step. Asanteni sana. Thank you. I will continue.
Thank you so much, Sheila, for that in-depth submission. I'm seeing Kadomi has run away. I wanted to hear from her. Of course, Kadomi has been heavy on that issue of these bills that are looking to license farmers. So thank you so much for that submission. Of course, it means a lot, Sheila, and it's giving us a view of what is actually happening on the ground. I see Soro B is here with us. If you can get Kadomi, we'll appreciate. Soro, how are you doing? Soro, unmute your mic. I see Soro B if you can hear me.
Oh, thank you. I can hear you.
Jambo.
Jambo sana.
Karibu.
Asante. Yangu ni machache, sio mengi. Ningependa kuanza kwa hivi. Unajua tumepigana sana. We have really fought for this. We want to achieve the freedom ambao kila mtu anahitaji as Kenyan. But mimi nikiona vile kunaenda, kuna vile wengi naona wengine tunasema 2027. 2027 naona mimi ikifika. Lakini wale wako kwa cheo watakuwa wamejipanga. Kura zitapigwa vizuri na zitalindwa. Hata kama tumeweka mtu wetu aje, strategy ambazo zitakuwa zimeweka watu kwa viongozi sahihi, kwa political post sahihi, kila mtu anajua vile atajipanga. Yaani amejipanga, ameiba enough, anajua vile atapanga. 2027 watatutumia sisi. Ndio mimi sitakutumika, hiyo na swear. Kuharibu na kuua watu wengine. Yaani kula zitapigwa asubuhi, hata kama tutakuwa zimeenda aje, zitakuwa zimedirectiwa, lazima asinde. Na mwenye atapiga jaribu ku raise voice atakula risasi. Hiyo najua tu itafanyika. Kwa sababu najua this man is ruthless na careless. And hataki kujali ni nani ata lose maisha as long as I maintain position yake. Sahi ni sisi wenyewe tuhakikishe tumepanga na tume solve the issues ambazo ziko currently. Kama ni kutoka atoke mapema sahi before 2027. Kama ni kuchange all everybody kwa parliament watoke sahi mapema. Sijui ni nani tutaweza ama ni njia gani tutaweza chukua ili tupate tukajibu tena. But if ato tungoje mpaka 2027 wala kitatulama. Kitu ya pili. Sisi sio wanyama. We are not animal. Tupangiwe maisha. Sasa lazima nikianza kupanda kitu fulani hivi, ati mtu amepanda kitu hata kama ni umepanda wimbi, ati lazima uregister. Hii sio nchi ambayo tunataka iko hivyo. Sisi ni watu tunaunda chakula ambao ni yetu. Sisi wa Kenya tukule. Na hiyo style ya kupangiwa maisha ati lazima ununue mbegu mahali fulani, hata sijui ni nani wanakubali mpaka tunapangiwa maisha kama wanyama. Inaniuma. Naomba isiwe ifanyika hii Kenya. Na kama itaweza mwenye atakuwa ameweka ikuje na ifanyike. Sitaki kuongea mengi kuhusu yeye. Naomba hata Mungu amshughulikie. Hii Kenya ni yetu. Hatutakuwa tumewekwa kama animals. Sasa tuko hapo ati kuna certain people who believe that we are bigger than the rest. Wengine ni they are like things ambazo zinapangiwa vile zinaishi, vile zinakaa, vile what they eat, what they wear. ati ni nini unafanya kila siku. Hapana. We have to have our freedom as Kenyans. And we will not, hata kama ni mimi peke yangu nitasimama, hata kama ni polepole aje, nitaenda polepole, but one day najua itafanyika. Sitakubali watu tupangiwe maisha kama wanyama. Sisi ni binadamu equally, hata kama ni mtu ako na bilioni ngapi huko nje, hata kama ni mzungu, hata kama wanasema kuna akili kutuliko, lakini sio akili mpaka tukupangia maisha. Sisi maisha yetu tumeamua kufanya vile tunafanya, lakini sio kuwekwa kama tuko kwa dogs, ile vitu bado, yani ile mahali atu hapa, kutoka hapa ndio unakula, uwezi enda hapa kama ni ng'ombe. Hiyo iwezekani. Hiyo bill irudi mahali ilitoka na ikae huko, isiwahi fika Kenya. Shamba ni yetu na ni ya Kenya, na shamba yote ya Kenya isitumike kwa vyovyote vile kupata pesa kutoka kwa wazungu, kutoka kwa whoever, hata kama ni Bill Gates ama whoever, hata kama yeye ni rich, wealthy aje, kama ako na pesa alete ifanye kazi, ainvest. Kama ni kuinvest kuweka ma industries ndio watu waajiriwe, ni sawa, lakini kuja kufanya vitu zingine za kutupangia maisha pia hakuna. Kitu kingine ningependa kusema ni hii ya Adani deal. Sasa hii tumekuwa na historia ya Gachagua ikafunika Adani. Sasa Adani yako Kenya na miguu yote, na naona Raila ambaye alikuwa ni mtetezi wa watu amesupport, amesema ati yeye Adani ni msafi kama pamba, na already tunajua story ya Adani from nje ambazo amefanya. Mimi ningefanya hivi kama ingewezekana. Najua kuna watu wanajua, wako na expert na IT. I think now that lazima afanye Kenya, lazima akae Kenya na amekubaliwa na serikali. Ninafikiri sasa ni vizuri wale watu wako na IT expert, wale watu wataweza hack vitu, hakiwe hata hii account yake yote, hizo pesa zitumiwe wa Kenya. Finally after 1 year akuje kuregret why he invest in Kenya, atoke Kenya akiwa amepilisika.
Asante sana.
Kwa sababu sasa
No, 1 minute before 1 minute ndo land. Uko na 1 minute ya kusubmit bwana Soro kabla ndo tuende kwa the next person.
Okay, sasa nilikuwa nasema sasa akiwa ni lazima akwe ameinvest in Kenya na hataki kusikia vile sisi tumekataa. Actually I like to actually whoever who knows how to deal with him in any way technologically, not in any way to harm him, but technologically let him know that we are Kenyans, and Kenyans are people who people actually the whole world knows that Kenyans are not people to joke with. Thank you for that.
All right, thank you for that submission. I wanted to get Kadhomi or Ukulima. I think ni Ukulima ni haki. Let me get the right name.
Kilimo
Kilimo
cha
cha haki. Yes, kilimo cha haki. But I'm still trying to connect with her on the background. I hope I get to talk to her here before we get to the top of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Home Run. PP comes to you each and every weekday from 4 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m. East African time. This show is supported by you, the listener, 100% to help us stay independent. And so, if you like what I'm doing, of course, there is a tip jar line 0721948229 where you drop your support. No amount is big or small. So yeah, kama unapenda kazi yangu, ingia pale hivi juu kuna tip jar line where you can send in to support the show. Na venye Sheila anasema ukweli hakuna pesa. From the trends that I've been looking in terms of hata tips zenye na receive kwa show, it's like for the past 2 months tips zime go down by 50%. Yeah, and you know what tips are? Tips are money that is extra, you know. Inamaanisha watu, their finances are tied down so much they can't even have extra money to share na sisi wenye tuko hapa kwenye mtandao. So it's that bad. So when you talk about the economy tanking, I'm also one of the people who are affected. Kidogo tu hivi tuanze kupigia landlord simu kuanza kujiexplain vile hii mwezi studio rent itachelewa kidogo. So it's not looking good, and we cannot act like everything is okay and business as usual. I see Malia was trying to talk to us, and Richard Nye, mbona unajaribu ku unmute mic yako? So let me hear what Richard Nye has to say, then go to Malia. Richard.
Yeah, so yeah, you are saying a bag of cement right now is 950. Actually, it was
Yes.
760. Around April. Sawa. So as you also said, okay, Mjengo is generally people, let's say industry. If the people are thriving, then Mjengo you will thrive. But right now, it is in hell. Now the other thing that is burning is that the ketchup will take for 30 years. PP. PP, can you hear me? 30 years, bro. And now there's the funny part where the funding is funny that the government will not fund anything. It will not incur any cost. So I do not know how that works. And for the Ketchako, and the one for the 1 trillion which you asked you guys, okay, like what is the problem in Kenya? We all know that there are some areas. So the problem is that the only thing that you need to say is that the execution part is the problem. Okay, yes, there is the problem of water. Yes, but how are these projects handled? Because you'll find after they have done their projects, the amount used, it is so hadi sijui niseme aje, yani ni pesa mingi inatumika to related to the project. So the problem is in the project execution. So that is where we have a bigger problem right now. Yes.
All right. Thank you for that, Richard Nye. Malia. Malia.
Peter, I wanted to tell you where your money is going. Kuna
Inaenda hapo.
dosiari yenye Cyprian Nyakundi ametoa about people who are owning properties in Dubai. So huyu mama anaitwa Mary Wambui Mungai, ule mwenye alikuwa kwa ile scandal ya supplying cooking oil, rice and beans to the Kenya National Trading Corporation, which is under investigation by EACC and DCI. She has 2 plots in Al Ur in Dubai for a total of 105.4 million in Dubai. Sasa tukuja kwa wenye alikuwa anaitwa Deepak Kamani na brother Rashmi Kamani. Hao walikuwa kwa scandal ya Anglo Leasing. So Rashmi Kamani akona properties worth 2 billion, including luxury offices, office units na apartments in Dubai Marina Residence. Alafu Deepak Kamani akona office units at Kenya shilling 76 million in a place called Tiffany Towers. Alafu Kamlesh Patni wa Goldenberg akona 3 flats in Dubai's Discovery Gardens worth 56.5 million. Hiyo dossier, this is not even, I think there are like 10 times more people who amenunua That's where Kenyans wanapelekanga pesa yao. That's where pesa ya kuibwa inapelekangwa kununua manyumba za Dubai, offices, flats. Hiyo hata unaona nowadays watu wa Dubai wanakuja kufanya expo in KICC because that's where Kenyan money goes. Sasa mambo ya dams, nimeona dams wanasema wana target 1.8 trillion and they want to build around 100 dams. But the question is this, because they are saying that currently the number of people who have water is I don't know 1/8 of the population. But naulizaje, sisi hapa tuko Nairobi, at times kuna kuanga mpaka na excess water in Dakaine, but you find you still not having water in the house. Na hawezi sema okay, there are places yenye hakuna piping ya kuweka kama Ushago, tunaweza sema there are areas yenye hakuna pipe to water, but sisi we have pipe to water, but we are still not getting the water even when the dam is full. So point ya kuenda kubuild 100 dams, what is the point? If at all, even the ones which are there, the available dams, hazisaidii in terms of supply, or else is it something which is intentional that they want there to be lack of water so that they can be selling their maji yao ya bows ama? Because I've never understood water problem in Nairobi. It never ends. Even when rain kukakuwa na floods, the dam is full, there's no time you'll get at unaweza pata maji like 7 out of 7 days. So I don't understand if at all already with the dams that we are having, we are not getting the water supply properly. Inakuja maybe 2-3 days. Then how could build 100 dams? It's just a lot of embezzling funds because even what we have is not working as at now. Thank you. Back to you.
Mambo ni mengi. I'm trying to get Kadhomi kwa mic. Sijui kama ananisikia. Kadhomi, if you can hear me, kindly request the microphone. And Richard Ngeni, kama umesahau sheria na masharti za home run, you just don't open your mic ovyo bwana. You know that.
Check it.
Yes, don't.
Yeah.
Unainua
Kidogo, I want to
mkono,
answer something
unangojea kwanza.
concerning Maria.
Just wait. You have to raise your hand so that you can be called up. Just wait. I am seeing Alkebul and Songbird anasema Pipita, labda JP Morgan wana target hawa say, and he was talking about there's an excerpt hapo hivi anaongelea kuhusu the anaongelea kuhusu hiyo deal ya JP Morgan and how they are connected to Adani. Of course, there's also something that has been noted by Wanjira earlier on, that the countries that JP Morgan has taken up are strategic. Kenya on the east, Nigeria on the west, Egypt at the top and South Africa at the bottom. So it's like they have us boxed in. So Nge, what did you want to say before I go to news?
Yeah, it's about Maria, the problem of water in Nairobi. Actually, mostly it's about monopoly, because you can see the company supplying that water does whatever it wants to do. But if there are two or three more doing the same thing, supplying the water, people will tend to go to a certain company. So one is monopoly. And then where you're saying that we are okay, like there are dams and people not have water, it is because of the water supply and distribution. So talking about the 1 trillion, maybe we do not know, but it will expand and upgrade the water supply. Also, it will do what? The sanitation and hygiene. That is the reduce waterborne diseases. So make kuna ile maji inakuanga na salt mingi, and also they are going to build, I don't know, water, improve the water quality, including construction of what treatment plants. So I think that 1 trillion, if it will be used well, not like the way we know how they use our money, then I believe these things will be sorted. Yeah. And then flood control, sometimes maji inakuwa mingi, you cannot control it, they'll control that. And also those irrigation systems, that is port agriculture. That is what I think that should happen. Yes, thank you, Pipi.
All right, thank you for that. And also wanted to say, nilirealize hiyo story venye unasema Ndakaini could be full but there is no water in the taps. Why? because of the bowsers that move around. It's a big business. Water is a big business. Garbage. Oh my God, they cry when they hear you talking about garbage. I want to go to news on then Sheila. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Home Run with Pipi. We are approaching our final hour of the show, but we'll be back here again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for the State of the Nation. Of course, Parliament has delivered 2 truckfuls of evidence against Rigathi Gachagua. So it's going to be a circus on Wednesday. But right now, let us put a pulse on our economy. A hand on our economy's pulse. Newson, habari.
Poa sana. Kenya ni ground, ni playground ya tunacheza and it's okay. Wacha tu tuendelee na kucheza. Sisi ni spectators. So to begin with, we have our fears about JP Morgan. So far, what I can say is that ni ofisi tu wamekubaliwa kufungua in Kenya. They will not be allowed to operate as a full bank. And so what is there is that they will be acting as a marketing point and a liaison between their customers in Kenya and their main bank in the US or their main bank, wherever it is. And so, yes, if it was allowed to operate as a full bank, then we would have been more worried, looking at its financial strength, its abilities, and also looking at the loopholes that we have in our policies or our constitution or the laws that we have currently. In 2016, we know that there was a banking act that was tabled, and so this banking act ilikuwa inaweka limit to the level of that is the commercial bank rates zenye wangeweka their interest rates, and so it was only allowing up to 4% a cap on the allowed if the Central Bank of Kenya waliweka their interest rate at 10% or at 9%, then the commercial bank ingeend up to 4% peke yake juu ya hiyo. So we would have, if it is at 12%, then the commercial banks zingekubaliwa ziweke their interest rates up to 16%. And so hii ingeweza kusaidia in a case it protects the consumer asiweze kuchukuliwa pesa yani waibiwe pesa in the name of paying interests. Unfortunately, in 2019, there was a repeal. There was an appeal that iliweza kukuwa tabled by these commercial banks, and so that was changed. So in 2019, that cap was removed to allow the commercial banks to do whatever they like. Of course, this comes, we know that the central bank, it has these major activities. It operates by regulating the interest rates, having a bank rate policy, selling securities to banks, and so on and so forth, so as to what is called the open market operations, and also having the variable cash rate, a certain level of revenue that is allowed for the banks to loan any person that comes for credit. And so through these ways, we want to ensure that either inflation or recession or deflation zote mbili ziko taken care of depending na our market. Currently, if the JP Morgan was allowed to operate as a full bank, then with the loophole of not having a cap, then that would mean that, well, through these ways zenye ziko, the 3 ways zenye ziko and others, we would not actually regulate their operations. So one, it would kill the local banks that we have. So in the long run, we would cease to have the banks that we think that are Kenyan or that are local because of their financial muscle. So far, as it is, it's just an office that they're allowed to operate, and so watu wao can comfortably operate or link with their main officers. And I learned.
Thank you for that. Sheila.
Yes, thank you, Nimona. Tuna close. So I just wanted to focus on consumer spending power and our fiscal policy. Fiscal policy, by the way, a big term, but those who don't know fiscal policy is how the government uses revenue, like vile inatumia pesa na vile taxation the way it influences the economy. So that is basically tax fiscal policy. So ukisikia mtu akisema the fiscal policy by the government is not working, that's what they mean. They mean that how the government uses pesa ina collect from Kenyans. And by the way, people, government doesn't have money. We are the people who give government money. So mali unasikia mtu anakuja that's why we need to stop. By the way, even when China is donating things, even US inasemanga people of the Republic of China, donated by people of the United States of America. That's what the donation say. Hata ukiangalia USAID. So the government doesn't have money. Even when we put roads, see, government, it should even stop being government of Kenya. It should be people of the Republic of Kenya. Government hainanga pesa, ni sisi tunapea government pesa. So unakaa hivi wanakaa hivi wanasema tunataka ku upgrade gari, tutafanyaje to increase tax hapa that's how I look at it. That's my own standpoint. I stand to be corrected, but that's how I look. So back to why the fiscal policy needs to be amended and how it's affecting our spending power as consumers. So kama tuko na debt already, our public debt is high, si ndio? But we collect money, alafu hiyo pesa yote inaenda kulipa hizo maloans. Hii pesa ingine inaibiwa, unapata projects hazidevelopiwi, shule hazijengwi. That means you now have to go to an expensive private school, ama unaongeza pesa kidogo kupeleka mtoto kwa hiyo public school. Enye hata education si nzuri kwa sababu walimu huko they are very redundant, hawalipwi poa. Things that could benefit us, the development projects zenye zinakuja ni mbaya. So the fiscal policy mi hata sioni kwa nini inakaa kitu kubwa. It's not a big thing. Just ensure that our money comes back to our pockets. Now ukiangalia now back to our consumer spending and the effects on consumer power. The cost of living inaendelea kupanda, hiyo tunajua. Income hakuna pesa. Most households hawezi afford hizo basic needs. Tunaweza angalia how, I think I just highlighted how consumption has reduced. Now tukiangalia mismanagement and how mismanagement affects our cost. Kitambo, maybe around, this is a conversation I was having with my friends who are a bit older also. In the sports ministry, we had, by the way, we had the Kenya Premier League, and then we had the FKF, and then I think we had Kenya, paka prinini ya Kenya ilikuwa inaonekana Super Sports. So when the new management came, they wanted to now re-strategize the contract they had with Super Sport. Obviously ya kukula. Super Sport ikahepa. You find mwenye alikuwa the lowest earner, I think, was 60,000. That was a documentary I watched on sports. I'll find and share on my page. The lowest earner our sports, I think it was 60,000 would help you at least kukula, kama uko na some siblings, kama ni kulipa rent, maybe unalipa rent 5k wherever you're living. You know, it could help a player to survive. And high income player in Kenya was earning almost 200 plus. Right now it's not there. So sector zote zikikuja pamoja, all the sectors are failing. Even the ICT is failing. Mtu akikuja kama kuna huyu, there was a Kenyan guy mwenye alitengeneza robot yenye sijui na translate, I forgot. Imagine the Kenyan government didn't take him nini, akachukuliwa. Sasa kuko anatengeneza marobot zenye mkono yako, that the hand gestures can translate for the deaf. I think that was something that would have helped improve the lives of his people, and also the lives of many deaf people in Kenya. And even our health sector ingekuwa a bit improved from that kind of technology. We could have harnessed something, but hawaku take serious. Our government, not even, unajua government ni watu, individuals. We have individuals wenye ni wabaya. Kama SME ifai kukua small enterprise for such a long time. If you look at the sector ya SME ya Oparanya, right now he's the one who's there. Hata tukipika paka 2027, the SMEs that are under his docket, hakuna growth yenye wamepa. You're not supposed to be a small business enterprise surely for 10 years. That does not make sense. There is no growth there. Unapata hakuna mtu ako kwa jua kali. First of all, jua kali, you're not sure kama you're not sure of your income, so huwezi spend. So I think niliona wamepandisha 6%, and what is under wanini inapanda na how many percent? The inflation inapanda by how much? By how many, how percentage ya, mi najua rental income inapanda by 6% per annum every 2 years, actually almost every year. Nyumba ikiisha, rent inapanda by 6% in your area. Ukiona nyumba mpya imejengwa, hawalipishi rent kama yako, na ukitaka mtu mwingine akihama kwa nyumba yenye umekuwa anapandishiwa rent by 6%. So it still also is not effective to me. It's not effective enough. Anyway, my last submission would be, because umesema tuna close, my last submission would be the government needs to
Tuna close 9, don't worry. We close at 9, not 8.
okay,
So we still
sawa.
have time.
Sawa. So for
Go ahead.
me, we need to improve. First of all, there needs to be initiatives for including the people, everyone in both in rural and urban areas. Nilikuwa naona Morara leo anasema, but they may support their gentleman very much. Hata watu wakisema tunamchangia pesa, we can never go anywhere without resources. The only reason we have people in power is because they have resources. And the only way they are able to sustain that power and control the people is because they have resources. And if we don't come together and pool resources to help one another, the political class will always come together and squeeze us. They will always get the best. Muliona huyu wakili mwenye alikuwa, sijui anaitwa wakili mgani, alijoin team ya Rigathi kumsupport surely. Yet anyway, we want both of them to go, but if Rigathi is going, me I support him going. Like wacha aende, au wengine wanaenda next waende. All of them need to go. If they are eating each other, let them eat each other. So you find that they have resources to pull the best of us. And us as Kenyans, your poverty thing, by the that poverty thing is they want to keep making us poor. Imagine if I could afford to wake up one morning and go and use maybe SNN Travels to book my flight, mtu mwingine atumie Oribi Exhibitions, mwingine, if we could all afford a lifestyle, no one would be compromised. But because they want to make it so hard for you to start a business, it is very, sahi hata kuregister business yako unajua pesa imepanda ya registration. I think it was 950. Sahi just to register the name of, it was 500, no. Sahi to register just a name of your business. So I think we need to be very, very alert on these policies that they bring, and I thank God that Kenyans, we are now wide awake. Otherwise hizi bills zote zingekuwa tu wewe una trust. Sahi Raila amekuja kusanitize Dani. Now also nimeona this MP from what they call this place, Dan Manzo, I don't know what MP is from, anasema ati Adani sponsored Raila's campaign in 2012 presidential campaign. And you're like, okay, so they have this information. Okay, another thing also, these people in parliament, Sudi anasema ati we need to trust them. Tell us hiyo ni information gani mko nayo enye hamtaki kutuambia. We have the right of information in the constitution. It's there. We have a right to know unless it affects national security. Na mi sioni kutuambia Kenya Rigathi amefanya vile ina affect national security. Simtuambie ni mtu mbaya 1 2 3. He was voted in by very millions of Kenyans. So I will hold it for now. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Data activist, if you can hear me, unmute your mic and talk to me. I can't see. I've been trying to connect with Kadomi, but it looks like leo internet yake imenikataa na yangu. I'm even trying to see with my. Hmm?
Okay, as people tries to reconnect, maybe I can continue so that we don't remain in silence. Shayla, I like what you're saying, and I would like to second what you're saying using data that I have. Did you know when it comes to money poverty in this country, there are over half of people in 10 counties do not have money to afford food and basic amenities. Turkana has more than 80% of people who can't afford um food and basic amenities, while Nyeri has less than 10% who are money poor. So think about that for a minute. In 10 counties, more than half of the population cannot afford food and basic amenities. Then let's go to how much money people spend on food versus non-food items. You find that in 14 counties, people spend more on food than on non-food items. Yeah. So hata ile pesa kidogo, the little money people are making is spent on food. And right now, if you look at the inflation, the one thing that is really, really driving inflation is food inflation, the cost of food. And that is partly being driven also by the fuel inflation. Yeah, because fuel prices have increased, the cost of delivering foodstuffs and what have you has increased, and that has a ripple effect. Yeah. So when someone says that the inflation is going to go even higher, you can imagine what that will mean um, for, 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 for food consumption in the country. People can barely afford food as it is. You know what is happening basically? Um, People are going to become more hungry. Yeah, there's going to be chaos. Like now, what is happening? Let's go to Shift, for example. Shift came in less than 2 weeks ago, and right now, the other day I saw a video which was really heartbreaking. A doctor was a surgical resident actually was saying how there are patients who had paid for NHIF for various treatments, and they had been sent and been booked, and they had spent months and months and months, yeah, for them to only for them to come and be sent back to be told now the shift cannot handle them. They have been sent back. And yet there are others, members of the medical fraternity, who can tell you stories of how people are dying, not because the hospitals and medical facilities don't have resources, but because they are being sent back. I don't think as Kenyans we are really angry enough, or we actually understand the gravitas of the situation. Yeah, because it's really serious. This is barely 2 weeks down the line. What happens 3 months down the line? How many people will have died? And what can we do about it now? Yeah, because people are going to die. And you know, when she made that video, her hands were tied. She felt so bad sending people away, but what can she do? She said she has done what she can do. You know, somebody was supposed to come and get maybe a surgery done, but now they are being sent back. The other day we saw an old man who was being told he can't undergo dialysis because he needed to pay 9,500 on top of what he had already been paying. And we didn't have the money because NHIF used to take care of all of that. NHIF was working. There was no need to do an overhaul. Yeah. But it really makes me feel very helpless, some of these situations. And I don't know. It's It's very painful to see people dying and be helpless in that situation. But we need to do something as Kenyans. Because what happens? Today it is them. Tomorrow it is me. The day after it is somebody close to you. Yeah? We need to think about that. I hope people
Can you hear me now, that activist?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. I see MMSQ is here with us, and then we can hear from data scientist as well. MMSQ, how are you?
Thank you so much, good PP. I hope everyone can hear me clearly.
We can. Talk to us.
Okay, thank you so much. And first of all, this is a good topic that you brought about the state of economy, because I feel like understanding our economy should be our priority, because a lot of things about economy zimekuwa zikiongelewa in this politics. People heard about Ruto saying the bottom-up economic model, Raila's trickle-down economic model. These things, they really affect us, and they are there. Someone, I think it was Sheila, was trying to explain what is fiscal policy. Okay, fiscal policy, you can view it in two ways. From those who have done politics and economics, they understand fiscal policy as the means through which the government spends its money and collects its revenue. Then for those guys who've done a simple business courses, they understand fiscal policy, these laws and rules and regulations on how the government is going to collect taxes. Now, regardless of your background, understanding either of the meaning is very, very much important. You see, wakati tulikuwa tumeenda maandamano ya finance bill, you see, finance bill is one of the very, very much important act. I normally tell my friends, hata afadhali usijue hizo act zingine of parliament, but each year make sure you understand what is in that finance act. There's another act called the Appropriation Act. Those guys who have gone to law school, awale mnajua, we have like a government kuna, I'll just use a simple language, kama its bank account inaitwa the consolidated fund. This consolidated fund ni kama bank account ya business ya Kenya sasa, like for the government of Kenya, kama vile bank account yako iko, whereby kuna ile uko na sources of income za kuleta pesa ndani ya account yako, na kuna vile una spend your money. Now, the Finance Act deals how the government is going to collect money from people, ikiweka kwa hiyo consolidated fund. Then the Appropriation Act, because I notice a lot of people, many people don't know about this act. Appropriation inasema government, how the government will spend the money. And we as Kenyans tukijua about this act, you understand kama saizi appropriation inasema how much money is going to be spent, we can tackle this government. Now, I go back to those economic ideology. From the very beginning, you know, when Ruto was telling people bottom-up economic model, no one was understanding. People walichukulia ka simple, akawadanganya, oh, the bottom-up economic model is ni kuchukua pesa kwa wale sijui. I don't know what was it. Even some of them, they couldn't even explain what it is. But those people who understand economics, they understand what it is mean, the bottom-up economic model mean. Now, these fiscal policies nilikuwa nasema you should understand. There are two types of fiscal policies. Kuna those which are expansionary, zenye the government ina ensure kama inatengeneza finance act, ile act ina make sure that a citizen or a Kenyan or any person who is in Kenya akona enough money kwa pocket yake. How can this happen? Unapata tax imepunguzwa. So unapata ulipi tax mingi. Kama ulipi tax mingi, that means you have a lot of money in your bank, in your pocket or in your bank account, in your unaweza spend. That's the expansionary. But the bottom up inaendanga not called the contractionary, like a restrictive mode of controlling the amount of money supply in the economy, whereby unapata the government ime increase taxes, and that's why hiyo ideology ya bottom up economic model ndio yanafanya saizi unapata hizi taxes zimeincreasiwa sana, but the government inafaa ifanye nini? Reduce how much it's going to spend to balance the economy. But sasa hizi unapata in Kenya taxes zimeincreasiwa, but the government ijapunguza vile ina spend. So unapata mtu anaumia hapa ni mwananchi, because government ime increase taxes, so it's collecting more as usual, ina spend more as usual, ina shida. But for you mwananchi unatolewa pesa mingi, but kwa zile pesa mingi zinaenda nje ni kidogo sana, inakufaidi. Unasikia oh sijui kusupply sijui what in the state house ime cost billions of money, and you wonder Unasikia sijui the MPs were paid billions, and you wonder wewe mwenyewe sasa ukiangalia, and I'm sure many of us right now we don't have money. Watu wengi hawana pesa. Saizi unapata value ya dhao manze imeongezeka. Ukipata dhao like uko nao dakika mbili hauna hiyo pesa, because there is no money, and it's because of these very same policies zimeekwa. That's how from an economic theory inaweza explain. So the only thing before I stop speaking, nataka kuambia, go back, understand these fiscal policies, understand what is Appropriation Act inasema nini, understand what is a finance bill. Ask yourself, bona saizi vile Finance Act ya 2024 2023 ile kwa chini, why are you going back to the 2023 Act? You should understand these things, because if you understand how the economy operates, then government itawafinyilia. I can tell you people in countries like US, unajua ukikuja Kenya, those courses yenye watu wanataka kufanya sana sana ya medicine, engineering, but if you go to US, zile courses watu wanapenda kufanya sana ni something to do with business and economics, and that's why those people, no one can steal from them, because wanajua these basics of economics. But here in Kenya, most of us don't know. Mtu amefanya engineering atafanya economics maybe kama unit moja peke yake, maybe 45 hours only, na imeisha hivyo. So hata understand these basics. Akikuja kusikia Ruto anasema mbona bottom up ajui ni nini, Raila anasema trickle down ajui ni nini, how does it affect them? So the only challenge I'm giving all Kenyans here, go and understand the basics of economics. If you understand the basics of economics, then Ruto atafanya mambo anafanya saizi. Muliona finance bill ile kumtishia, the guy was trembling because we touched where we should touch, hapo kwa finance, hapo kwa economics. Hata nilikuwa nasema wakati ya appropriation, nilikuwa nasema people should have gone to the street, show these people we know how it is done, we know how it should be done, na hapo tutakuwa tunasaidiana. So I drop the mic.
Thank you so much for that, brother. You have really dissected it. MMSQ, and also that is quite educating. Data scientist, how are you doing? Mose?
Hello, PPT.
I don't know if you're in the microphone. Habari yako?
Niko salama.
I can't hear you, Mose. You'll have to reconnect.
Can you hear me now?
Kwenye mic. Yes. Mabibi na mabwana, this is Homeland PP. I see Maureen Magak, who's going to talk to us after this.
Social conversations, engaging topics on your phone anywhere. This is Home Run with Pippi.
I think I'm going to have to recycle data scientist. You're listening to Homeland PP, ladies and gentlemen. We are about 38 minutes to the top of the hour. Maureen, how are you doing? Sijui kama Maureen ananipata. Unmute your mic, Maureen.
Niko hapa, Pipi, Mambo, and everyone on board. How are you
Poa
guys?
sana.
Kwanza kabisa, there's magic in this because what time did I request mic and even accepted? Yo, is there a magician at the back end, Pipi?
Umejipata by force.
Anywho, I know, right? Anywho, I've been hearing people injecting a lot of sense, and all this time I've just been asking myself, hawa watu ambao wanatuibia, hawa wezi wote ambao wanatuibia, do they have another Kenya they are planning to go to? Because seriously, I'm asking myself, if we all exist in one Kenya, why would someone so sell a country anajua kwamba hata rule milele and still want to exist in the same, within the same people amekuwa akiwakanyaga? I'm like, what kind of mind are they using? Ama kuna rich mind na broke mind? Mimi ndo na think broke ama, because if that is the kind of an elitist mind, then it's so fake. I mean, so what I don't like most about this is the people that really promise so much, wakakaa ndani wakasema tukienda tutafanya hivi. After being there, they're doing so much opposite, to the extent that they rather do it in the dark. When we wake up, it is already done, like this. I'm looking at people that are just up to serving their own interests. You saw how in Gachagua impeachment was, the motion was proposed, and within like a week, it was a done and dusted deal. Well, we've been singing Ruto must go for like how many months? It falls on deaf ears. So that tells us that the people we have at the top there, they have no interest or no political will at heart for us, and we've already known that. So I think what I would, my cry is strategy. My cry is a lot of strategy, even as the we are joining hands in making sure that we have new vibrant parties that work for us. Now, the strategy will come in a way that is not just about forming party, but it is the readiness of that party to be active. For example, we are injecting at least wengine wakute waache positions or whichever happens, but it's the party that is formed. For example, inject and everything. If I'm off topic, let me just inject. How ready are we to take those positions? Because there's one thing to have a collective, and there's another thing to be ready for the opportunity that comes in. Because I'm looking at a revolution that must have people who are ready to take part. I'm looking at a situation where we need to also do a lot of information huku nyanjani, in your village, in your mtaa. How many of your friends have ideas and they already know what to do, and they are saying, liwe liwalo, there's no psychophancy, we are not singing one name like it's gonna feed us for a whole year, yeah? And then now, because I know most of us, even where I come from, young people are really strong in, advocating for what they want, but ile action ndio inakuanga ngumu, especially for voting, kwa sababu voting power hatuna, we don't take ideas, so that's time to change. So how, from wherever you are, how are you making sure that at least each and every week there are sessions happening where you sensitize the young people, where chukueni kura and really go and vote? Because again, we have to say the truth, by not voting, you've already voted a big time, and that is not secure. To sanitize people to understand, it's not about mtu wetu. Hiyo mtu wetu ilienda kitambo. Now you are alone. You make decisions that will work for you. So from where I stand, I'm a very sad Kenyan, extremely sad with every bad thing that is happening, that I grew up when my shosho anaomba shosho mwingine mbegu apande, and that was all right. So right now, I'm at a place where if this is not happening, existing is gonna be hard, like my predecessor friends speakers have said. I'm looking at a place where jirani yangu sasa hivi akona, manure, that a time is coming where I can't even borrow, I'll be jailed. Oh my goodness, I will march to that jail naked if I have to, because it will be very difficult for me to stop asking for jirani mbegu, or to stop farming with manure, because I'm waiting for one that is costly, that is going to monopolize the kind of, seeds my shamba grows. I mean, that is bullshit. And I wonder, this impedes this, we have people who sat there and are passing these bills. Wanatoka Utopia, ama wazazi wao wote wanaishi Dubai. I don't understand people. I don't understand. Everyone who is here, ask your people at home. Leo hii, if you cannot omba mwenzako seeds, leo hii, if you cannot use your manure hizo za ng'ombe, like the Kenya is making it as a rule, you can't. How do you feel about it? Now, as I wind up, the war has to be finished by, if you are angry enough. In many spaces I get, people are telling themselves, don't be angry. My friend, some of these changes, you have to really embark on them if you are angry enough. How angry are you? And some of the people say, no, don't be angry, you have to be level up. Ikikuchosha, ndio utapaza sauti. Kwa hivyo mimi, I'm angry. I'm very angry from where I sit. And there's no other Kenya. In fact, those who have been having their American dream, unaona vile kumechemka pia kule. Hakuna kwenda huko, hakuna dream huko. Dream ni hapa hapa. Let's suffer in making it work. Thank you so much, people and everyone.
All right, thank you so much for that as well. And of course nimekuwahi, lakini afadhali ulikuwa na content. Karibu sana kwenye show, Maureen, and thank you so much for that submission. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Home Run with Pipi. Karibu sana kwenye show. If you like what you're doing, of course, request the microphone and come and talk to us. Tumekuwa tukiangalia kuhusu what is happening in our country in terms of the economy. Yeah. And most of the times people either go to business or farming. Now, I think last week I saw a tweet. I don't know how true it is because I did not follow up. But last week I saw a tweet that somebody that right now gunia ya mahindi inauzwa 2400 in Eldoret. I don't know if you guys know anything about that, but I would like to engage on that if you guys know that. Yes. And also data scientist, ukiweza rudi kwa mic itakuwa vizuri sana because you had something to say. Yeah. Hii wiki mambo yani kuna mtu amesema kwamba we are being served with hot takes every day. And it actually hit me because kila siku kuna kitu mpya yenye tuna argue about. These days I don't even struggle with I don't struggle with content. It's there. So I want to go back to Newson. Nataka kupatia kama uko na rebuttal, a chance for you to talk to us. I've seen Dr. Onyango on the listener panel. If you can come over to the mic and maybe help us talk about kilimo cha haki. Yes, is it kilimo haki? Kilimo cha haki. Yeah. So yes. Chatone kwenye inaendelea pale kwenye comment section. Haya. Wanjira was talking about the location of the countries is interesting. We were talking about JP Morgan earlier on. And it's interesting, Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa, and now Kenya, West, North, South, and now East. I want to guess the next location is in Central Africa. So, of course, there is that. O'Brien ameweka hapo hivi GMO, the monster inside your food. Even in the US and other places like Europe, we have seen people have labels of GMO on their food packs. Why? Because they know, like, people want to go organic, but wao wanataka pia biashara zao za GMO ziwaka. And since wamekataliwa huko majuu, where do they dump? Africa. And of course, we have very greedy politicians, so they will take anything. Daktari, habari yako?
Mzuri sana Pipi. How
I am
are you?
well. Talk to us.
Great. I hope you can hear me clearly because I can see my network is acting up.
Yes, I can hear you. Talk to us.
Great. Thank you. Sorry. And for the forum, I can see we are talking about the state of the economy, and I have had people speak passionately for the few minutes I have been around. So I'm Dr. Duncan Onyango. I go for Kilimo cha Haki. I have heard someone speak about agriculture issues passionately, reminiscing how we grew up exchanging indigenous seeds and using organic manure and all that. And that just caught my attention because it is an issue that is that I'm passionate about. And I hope all of you here have seen the campaign we are running on Kilimo cha Haki, talking about addressing those same issues, about the 9 agriculture bills that featured in our parliament that tend to take away our food sovereignty. Actually, that particular one that she's talking about already passed in parliament. It's a law. It's an act of parliament that is active right now. You are not supposed to exchange indigenous seeds. You are supposed to buy seeds from, licensed seed distributors. And those are the issues we've been talking about. So our campaign continues to be able to protect our indigenous seeds and foods. And I hope you've also seen my colleague and co-founder of Kilimo cha Haki, Mary Kathomi, actively break down these things to us on all on the media. So I would, in line with that, I want to extend an invitation to all of you to join our Kilimo cha Haki campaign. Kilimo cha Haki is a lobby group that has brought together thousands upon thousands of farmers from across the country. We are also having a lot of professionals in agriculture and other related professions that have come up to support our campaign. We have a big team of lawyers that have volunteered to help us pursue the legal action against these punitive and unconstitutional bills. And in fact, as we speak, there is a petition that we have been working on that is pending because we could not present it to Parliament and the Senate while this impeachment motion of Gachagua was going on. So we are actually likely to have it next week. And it's not just going to be a petition. We are planning a march. We are planning a peaceful but huge protest. We have other parts of the country telling us to get a nationwide protest. We're going to lose all these indigenous varieties of not only crops, but even think about think about livestock. Think about your kienyeji chicken that you. When I go to my backyard in Migori and buy chicken in town, it is most likely to be an improved kienyeji, not the original indigenous variety that has its own taste that we are used to. So the dream we have is to be able to help Kenyans to not only fight these bills, but we are going to launch a campaign to be able to farmers on how we can be able to create seed banks and how we can also be able to conservancies for our local indigenous livestock. So you're going to be seeing a lot from us. And related to that, in the recent, you've seen also there's a campaign that our sister organization Taifa Mpya is running today that is so close to us because it affects our ladies, our girlfriends, our wives, our mothers, our daughters, and it has to do with the diapers and the sanitary pads, sanitary towels that our girls use. So we, for a long time, you will see these things being advertised very nicely, and we are made to believe that they are safe, and they are made out of 100% cotton. But a study, a careful investigation into the contents of the material that constitutes the sanitary materials that our ladies use and the diapers that our children wear has revealed that they contain tens of very dangerous materials. Actually, number one, they're not 100% cotton, as we have been made to believe, including the most trusted and huge brands like Huggies and all these ones that the high and mighty in society who can afford them go for. So a campaign has been launched and it's going on. It's actually entitled Sold by Trust, Sold by Lies, but Bought by Trust. Because all these years they have sold they have sold them to us by lies, and we have bought them trusting that they are safe and secure for our kids and convenient, because those of us who grew in the previous generations, we knew how kids used to grow up on napkins. But the convenience of Pampers or diapers came and we ran into it. But now it turns out that these things are actually, some of the materials put us at risk of infertility, put us at risk of cancer because some of the materials are carcinogenic and all that. So a team of lawyers already filed a petition in court. We will have a mention tomorrow, and the link has been given before Justice Chacha Mwita. And we are taking on these big brands that put these things and package them nicely and advertise them very attractively. And we go buying them, trusting that they are good and safe and convenient for our consumption. So it's an interesting but dangerous perspective. Some of our X accounts have been already censured and suspended for running that petition. But we thank Kenyans because as we close the day, I think we started in the morning, and we have over 1,000 petitioners that have already signed, and the numbers are growing by the day, by the hour. So Kenyans, we have to be vigilant about the things, not only the things that we consume, but now it also turns out that these are the things that we wear and things that are so important and so personal and so close to us, because we need to protect our girls, we need to protect our children, we need to protect our society, we must protect our health for us to be able even to have a country, this better Kenya that we are fighting for. So thank you. I just wanted to highlight those two particular petitions that we are running. And when you hear the call to join us in the march for our food sovereignty next week, please turn up and support us by your presence and by sharing the petition and by just standing up and speaking against all these things. And if you have time, check out our petition on the ongoing petition that we're having before Justice Chacha Mwita tomorrow about the diapers and the sanitary pads. So thank you very much for the forum, Kenyans. The battle is not over. It is just the beginning. We have to stand up. We have to speak. But above all, data scientists knows that I always encourage them in every forum that we must go beyond speaking and complaining and pointing out the wrongs. We need a team of people, Kenyans of goodwill and Kenyans of integrity, who will step forward and put up appropriate strategies for us to be able to kick out these people from power at the nearest possible opportunity. Whether it comes earlier or we have to painfully wait until 2027, if we just wait complaining and outlining the problems, then we will be in a worse position. If Ruto is behaving like this in his first term, you can imagine what is going to happen to us in the second term when he will not want to be re-elected. So he will just do whatever he wants to do with us. And I think it is going to be worse. So ladies and gentlemen, we need a team of people who will come out to put in place strategies and step forward also to take over from these guys, take positions of leadership. If you can be an MCA, if you can be a member of parliament, if you can be a president, this is the time to come out. Because I see what is happening on our side of the political divide. And if we do not pause to think and to strategize and to be very deliberate about what we want to see in this country, then the government of the day may simply succeed to scuttle us apart, just like the way they did to scuttle our street protests. So the same tactics I see, the way they began to sow division amongst us and we started fighting against each other, that is the same thing that is now happening. When they see any attempt at serious organization and strategy towards occupying places of power, then they will begin to call us name and set us up against each other. And that is already happening. We saw how scenes were ugly in the last weeks, people talking about malls, people accusing each other. And now our camp, we just end up fighting against each other. Yeah, we have people here who have gone to school. We have strategists, we have people, political scientists, we have professionals across the board. Why don't we come together, sit down and help our people with the strategy and organization, strategic planning? We have to be smart, politically smart, just and street smart, so that we can be able to survive against this regime. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be here still doing a debrief after 2027 or after the next any general election. So thank you, people, for what you're doing. You've been very consistent since this revolution started. Now we want to see people coming out of these movements and people to step out, team up, like-minded Kenyans, young people, people of integrity, people across the ages. Yeah, if we can't work together and sit down and draw a proper strategy so that we convert our movement from we don't run one man's shows, to build a formidable people's movement. I was telling some friends of mine that Baba, by virtue of the things he has done, has already lost his position as the people's president. So we need to organize ourselves so that we can occupy that position as we wait to occupy the ultimate position of the constitutional president of the Republic of Kenya and all other elective seats. And sometimes I was challenging some friends of mine because we may focus so much on the president alone, yet we forget that this is the time for young people, emerging leaders, not only young people, but emerging leaders from across the ages, to come out and strategize to occupy that MCA position in your village, to strategize to be able to go into that parliament. Because if our parliament was working straight, Ruto wouldn't be taking us for a ride the way he's doing to us today. In fact, I was telling some young people that the same thing Parliament is doing to Gachagua, that is how they are supposed to be treated, to be giving Ruto sleepless nights. The same way those MCAs are giving that lady, that governor in Meru, sleepless nights since she's got into office. That is the position our Parliament is supposed to hold with our president. So if we just spend all our time complaining about Ruto and we do not step up to identify, nurture, and radicalize alternative leadership from amongst us, then we are going to be in a worse position in 2027. If Ruto gets back to power with this same crop of leaders in parliament, he is going to be bolder. He is going to be more lethal than ever before. And I don't know where we shall run to go and hide. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us arise beyond speaking on these spaces to be able to organize and strategize and take this message down to the grassroots in a serious campaign that will destabilize and remove this regime from power in the next time we have an opportunity to go to elections. So thank you so much, and may God bless you. We fight on.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for that. And you by you saying that, you just reminded me something. Tomorrow, I announced it on Friday last week on the town hall. Tomorrow, I'll be giving a free microphone, okay, to anybody who is looking to be an MCA, an MP, a women rep. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I told you, kama uko na ambition, whatever you will be, kama unataka kuwa MP Wajir, unataka kukuwa MCA, ama unataka kuwa MP Kuria West kama mimi, you come here and tell us, this is the problem I've identified. We want problem solvers for leaders. So ukuje hapa hivyo tuambie, this is the problem I've identified, this is how I'm going to do it. Alafu watu watakuambia kama you're onto something or not. So remember that. Kesho kutoka 4 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m. I'll give you a chance, young leaders, to come and speak to us, because I've realized that we are making a lot of noise, and I'm very happy what Daktari is doing with Kadhomi, by the way. They are not just speaking, okay? For me, this is a media platform, but we cannot only depend on media platforms, okay? We also need to get off these platforms so that we can have something to report in the form of progress. So thank you so much, Daktari, for what you're doing. Of course, hiyo siku yenye mnatoka out the streets, we are going to come here mtuambie watu watoke wenye wanaweza kukuja wa join. Of course, Kadhomi has also been part of our family here. And leo nilikuwa nataka kumuona kwenye show but imekataa kumconnect. It's like amekuwa hacked or something. So yeah. But yeah, I want to finish with Sheila. Sheila, what's up?
Thank you. Simu yangu sijui inafanyika nini. The internet is dropping on and off. I love to be there at Daktari space. Unfortunately, kesho I also hold a Tuesday update space tukiongelelea hiyo punguza mizigo and other ni, but immediately ishe cause ni 6 to 8 I'll come and join you on this one. I think all of us should do public participation. Alafu to support one another. I wanted to give an example zenye tunajua of the government's failed fiscal policy. Affordable housing is one of the failed fiscal policies zenye tuko nazo. They keep highlighting how the Juakali sector imeimproviwa, but remember, Juakali is a complementary benefit of what the purpose of affordable housing was, which is to provide dignified and affordable housing solutions to Kenyans. Hakuna nyumba hata moja tunaona Mkenya ameown from the affordable housing program. So that's a failed fiscal policy that we can see. But I think Kenya's economy has the potential for a lot of growth. First of all, the government needs to find a way to tap into the creative economy. How do we empower the creative economy? Number two, how do we help how do we bring together the diaspora, their skills, their expertise, because they have a different exposure? How do we bring them back to Kenya? How do we incorporate them in our economy? Did you know that the diaspora remits almost 600 billion annually? Lakini hiyo pesa si ati yote inakuja kwa government, ama si yote inakuja into the national coffers. Most of it inaenda kwa rural areas, inaenda kwa family and friends, but obviously inaendanga kwa biashara zao. Maybe kama wanajenga nyumba, there is some money that goes to the government through the VAT. Halafu in the same depth of incorporating diaspora to improve our economy, we need to reduce the remittances. Apparently yetu ni 23%, one of the top 5 highest in Africa. Ile kutuma pesa back through the bank, through M-Pesa, through any money sending platform, we have one of the top highest. We are following, I think, Nigeria, Egypt. So one way we can improve our economy is by incorporating the Kenyans in diaspora in terms of their skill, not just remittance peke. We need to tap into we also need to tap into the creative economy. Hii maneno ya kutax digital nini, that will only give us tutatafuta tu njia za kuhepa hizo vitu. So the people in government need to come together and find better fiscal policies, find employment opportunities for us as the youth and also other Kenyans. Also, how do we tap into the enablers? By enablers, I mean wase wenye wameretire. For example, watu kama diplomats, retired diplomats, they know what is out there that Kenyans can benefit from when they are back home. Unajua? So that's another thing we need to do. Number 3, we need to improve our food security. If I can eat and I am full, I can think. We need to tap into that. We need to tap into our ICT. The government haija to engage enough. Imagine if you don't know somebody, hata watu wenye wako hapo maybe hawajasoma, alafu it goes back, mtu anapewa docket ama umeingia kwa program ya ICT, that's not even your background. Maybe ulifanya computer packages, so now you think you are an ICT person. They need to find a different structure. And lastly, us as Kenyans need to look critically and intensively at the quality of people we choose to represent us. Watu wengine, hata mimi nilichagua Jalango finance bill, hakuwa na interpret your finance bill ngo. Mtu Jalango alikuwa hapo anaiangalia, ana smile, anacheka tu. He actually, I think, even voted no because aliangalia public. Most people in Langata are learned, but what about people who are not learned uko mashinani? How do we ensure that they choose the right leader? is by ensuring that the education system is working for everybody. Kama niko huko Mount Elgon, CBC inanisaidia nini? Basi itanisaidia huko. How am I? Mtu chupa za maji atipekele bottled water. Niliona aunti yangu anafanya some project na mtoto wake, chupa ya maji za bottle, hizo ma bottle top. Mtu wako huko Mount Elgon huko kwa kijiji anatoa wapi bottled water? Where are they going to collect those things? So we need to diversify the solutions that we have for the people of Kenya, and I think we are on the right track. Public participation, then mwenye ako next na wewe anajua MCA wake analipwa pesa ngapi, anajua MCA wake anafaa kufanya nini. Kama ni barabara ya estate yenu, did you know you're not supposed to changa money ati mtengeneze barabara ya estate? That's not your role as people of the estate. Ako ka barabara iko na mtu mwenye anafaa kuijenga. There is a procedure. So we need to be, I think it is right that now we know, unajua tumetoka kwa hii civic education, now we are in political education where we are learning about ideologies. The first ideology we've broken it down over. It's impoverishing us. The moment they make us poor, we become beggars. A beggar has no choice. So we need to understand what their political ideology is. This hustler narrative, what is the solution? Solution ni gani? Kama ninataka kuchagua the right person, kwanza mimi nilikuwa nasema hii maneno MPs, why don't these leaders juu after wameimpeach Gachagua wanataka kukuja among us, they eat among us, they worship among us. We need to shun them away. If you're not for us, go and stay. Sijui kwa nini wapendi kukula na kukunywa pamoja na kutravel pamoja. Washindange hivyo. If it is even possible, they make their own county and stay there. I am very angry at these people. We should not entertain. Hata mimi rafiki ya mtoto wa MP sitaki kuwa friend yake. Enda ukae huko na baba yako na mama yako. Mkae huko kwa hiyo familia yenu mtengeneze. We need to make life hard. They need to be unable to live their social lives. Kama ni mkae majuu forever basi. So in short, for me, I'm very angry, and let's keep the anger going. Educate the next person. When you're next to you, muulize, why do you feel? Kuna dem aliniambia, a certain lady, we were just talking about the constitution. Akaniambia, there is nothing we can do. She was feeling helpless. Nikamwambia, this can't be a war for one day. You think you'll wake up one day and say Ruto must go, or you'll wake up one day and say Chief is bad and then it will go? No, it's a continuous fight. It's continuous because the system is broken to uko ndani kote. Alafu nimesema lastly mara mingi unajua ukiwa umejaa vitu mingi zinakujamisha. Watu wenye wanasema we can fight all these things pamoja. Hatuwezi sema ati we are now, no one is only focusing on impeachment. It's the media that's focusing on impeachment. The rest of us are focusing on everything. We are talking about education, we are talking about health, we are talking about agriculture, we are talking about the foreign policy, we are talking about our freedoms being infringed. So
Hivyo ndo umedrop mic Sheila ama ni mimi? Well, it looks like we've lost Sheila. Newson, can you hear me?
Yes.
That
Yeah,
activist, can you hear me? Allah, is it me or is it?
I can hear you. Pipita, unasikika vizuri sana.
Wasikika, ila sasa umefunga maiki.
Pipita, umezima mic.
Yes.
Umezima mic.
Nilikuwa nina refresh bwana. Nilikuwa nimepotea.
Pole.
Yes, anyway, asante sana. Newsom, sijui kama uko na final words for us.
Oh well, kwa kufunga, technically economy yetu si yetu. It's being run from somewhere else. From the rating and every other thing that is involved, kuja kuprint pesa yenyewe, controlling that money, people who make policies, we are not in control of our economy. And so we have a long way, but again, a journey of 1,000 miles begin with one step. And so these are the first steps zenye tunaanza, so that in the near future, we see a different Kenya. We see a Kenya which is fully independent from
Newsom bwana. Newsom. Allah. This one cannot be me. Maureen, unanipata?
Amepotea.
Oh.
Simpati.
Hey, kidogo niangushe mic bwana. Newsom, hebu rudi umalizie your final word. Okay. Sawa. Maureen, uko na any final words for us?
Yes, I have a burning final word, and it is, I'm preparing to go to a funeral of a madman. My only worry is, nikifika kule, they'll ask me how I know this madman, and I'll not know what to say. And that is to say, tunaishi in Kenya right now, tukisema vile siku itakuwa, wacha nikajaribu. We are so worried, we don't know what to do. Mental health imeanza kukick in, spiked by the status of the nation, vile hawa wanatucheza. And that is not cool for Kenya. Therefore, let's keep waking up, let's keep injecting strategically, because it will be well if we keep injecting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Maureen, for that. Data activist, what are your final words for us?
Thank you, Pepe. My final words are this. There's a quote I've been giving, guys, and it goes something like this. The greatest fear in life is not death, but to live life without purpose. So my challenge to everyone is, what is your purpose? Even in this movement, what is your purpose? Because everyone can do something about the movement, about what they are seeing going wrong. No matter how small it is, you can do it. And what appears to be small may not necessarily be small, but everyone has a role to play. So my call to you is, what is your role? And if you don't have a role, DM me. I'll get you a role. Thank you. Back to you, Pepe.
Thank you so much for that. Nimesikia umesema kwamba wewe ndio unapeana roles. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know, tomorrow I'll be sitting with MCs, MPs. Kama unataka kuwa governor, kuja kesho. Ukuja uniambie vile unataka kutoa Lonyangapuo kwa kiti. Yeah. Nataka kusikia hivyo. So kuna tweet nimeweka hapo hivi Tuesday on HRWP will be giving young leadership hopefuls a chance to speak up on their plans. If you're an MC, MP, MCA, governor, women rep, join the show and talk to us. Help me by retweeting that. Help me by retweeting that before we call it a night, as Daktari is giving us his final submission for tonight, as we call it a night. Daktari, what are your final words for us today? Daktari, are you there? Sijui kama daktari ananisikia. Data activist unanisikia? Oh Lord.
I can hear you, Pipi. I can hear you, Pipi. I'm trying
Okay.
to get a hold of Daktari. I'll let you know. Give me a minute.
Hello, data activist. I can hear you now.
Okay. Go ahead. PP was calling you. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I lost you. It's on and off. PP, if you could just let me know what you would want me to do.
And I wanted you to give us maybe final words before we call it a night here.
I'm
Sijui
not
kama
able to
daktari
hear
can hear me.
PP.
Data
Data
activist mwambie.
activist.
Yes, he can hear you. Okay, let me tell him. Doctor, we are doing the final words. So would like to know what are your final words as we close up.
Oh, thank you. I hope you can hear me, although I'm not able to hear some of you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so my closing words would be, just as I said, actually, recently in the past few days, I have shared this with the data activist that I actually challenged myself to sit down and work out a strategy, work on a strategy document that I am willing to share with people who are interested in crafting a proper strategy towards a grand takeover of political leadership in this country. Because we had a space some time back, it was entitled Grand Takeover of Political Leadership in this country. But I have not seen, I have been in many groups, one after the other, trying to see what people are doing towards getting the change that we want in this country. And I am disappointed to note that I am yet to come across a group that is so strong on strategy. Yeah, we have been very good at mobilization to the level at which some of us who are at the helm of the movement have been able to come to the national limelight and build a very good national profile. If only we could be able to add strategy and organization into it, bring in, this is the time to bring in the best political minds that we have in this country. And people of integrity, some of whom have walked this journey before us, and sit them down to mentor and to be able to strategize. By now, we should be having an alternative, we should be a government in waiting. We should be having an alternative manifesto. We should begin to tell Kenyans, we are saying these guys must go, and this is what we have to offer in return. Yeah, we have been talking about education. We have been complaining about the funding model. Can we sit down and look into our education and tell Kenyans, when we remove these guys, this is how we are going to run our education. Right now, with I almost said she and Sha, Shif and Sha, can we now get into a level where we can sit down, put our minds together, and be able to tell Kenyans that this is the dream health sector that we are going to run. This is the time to tell Kenyans that we have been complaining about devolution. When we remove these guys from power, this is how we are going to do devolution and implement it in the right way as the Constitution Kenya 2010 envisaged. And these are the changes that we think should work. So this is the time to be able kujipanga. Na siasa ni kujipanga. Ruto tayari amejipanga, akajipanga mpaka na baba. Sisi kama hatutajipanga tutabaki hapa tukitusiana na kulaumiana na kudeplatformiana and doing all those manner of things. We will just deplatform each other. And in fact, I think where Ruto sits, he looks at us and he must be laughing. Wanadhani kwani hao watu, what do these guys think we are? Do they know that I have been in this game since YK92? Do they know that I learned from Moi? He looks at us, what do these Gen Zs think? Yani I think where he sits wanatuangalia wanaona kwani hao watoto wanadhani wanaweza amka tu siku moja na wachukue serikali. Do they think it's that easy? I just imagine in my mind that is how they look at us. Yeah. You know, when you can imagine how you feel when maybe somebody comes, a small person, zile siku tulikuwa tunapigana physically when we were in.
Okay, is it just me or can anyone else hear daktari?
Amedrop kabisa.
Na venye alikuwa na inject vizuri.
One.
Let me try and get a hold of him.
Nikampigia simu.
Social conversations,
Going to
engaging
add
topics on your phone
serious
anywhere.
political
This is Home Run
strategy
with Pipi.
into the mobilization that we have.
Continue, Doctor. We had lost you for a moment. Aya, asante sana kwa tune in kwa Home Run with Pipi. I think Dr. Activist will use you to tell Daktari Asante. We will be here tomorrow, as you've known. Tomorrow is a chance for you, if you're a political aspirant and also as a citizen. I want you to come here and tell me what you expect from your leader. And of course, if you're looking to be an MCA, MP, governor, and or whatever, just come to the mic tomorrow and tell us, this is what I've identified for the people of Kajiado North. And as I am planning to be the MP, I'm going to use this strategy. According to the CDF, tunataka tuone kama ni leaders tuna elect ama ni watu tu wako na ma feelings. Because we need to be sure. So kuna kuja watuambia, this is what I have planned for my people. And then now we talk from there. So that is going to be happening tomorrow. Remember to retweet that tweet that is on the Jumbotron right now before we close it. Acha niwapatie 5 minutes. Tuko watu wengi bwana. Yes, I just need to get at 10 reposts tuko tano. So 5 people mwenye haja tweet hiyo post yenye nasema kwamba Tuesday tomorrow we will be seated here with people who are hopeful to be on the ballot in 2027, because as you are saying, tunajaribu to inject, but there is also that opportunity that we might not be able to get this guy out before 2027. So if that happens, what happens for us if we don't have leaders? So it's time for us to start grooming new leaders so that we can also have to understand, are we changing leaders or are we just changing the same people? So yeah, that is the plan for tomorrow. Thanks so much for everybody who was tuned in to Home and People today. It has been a great conversation. The talk around finances has been amazing. The bills, of course, Kilimo cha Haki, pulling up Kina Daktari. It was great. Thanks so much for being here. I'll meet you tomorrow at 4 p.m. kama kawaida for that State of the Nation Tuesdays, as of course we will be following up on the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. Also, news from Kericho: the impeachment of Governor Mutai fell through after he raised an objection in the Parliament in Senate that there was the 2/3 threshold of MCAs was not met in the impeachment meeting that happened. So that is how he survives impeachment. Mutai goes back to Kericho governor directly. So the one that we're looking forward to is the impeachment of the one and only Rigathi Gachagua. That will be on Wednesday. Of course, we have live coverage for that. We will be streaming through them to skize tu kenye wanasema all through that hearing. Of course, that is much of what we are doing. Thank you so much for those people who are seeing and tweeting that tweet on the Jumbotron. Of course, as I always say, Homeland PP is supported by you, the listener. Nyinyi ndio mnaweka taa zetu zinabaki on hapa. Kwa hivyo, if you like what I'm doing, kuna tip jaline 8229 yenye unaweza to support. Kwa hivyo, mbaki salama. See you tomorrow. Be safe, guys.
You are listening to Home Run with Pipi. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
You
I
see, I
think
was right,
I
Obes.
think
You see,
he's
I
still
was
in
right.
shock. He's still in shock that you did that to him. Juza, you're free to take over. Then we'll have to explain.
Okay, so as we do to go to Juicer, guys, would love really to hear from you. This is not really necessarily a podcast, so you can engage us in the chat section and request the mic. I think, obviously, with your permission, we'll have another half an hour after the top of the hour to just try and tie everything in this conversation. But in the meantime, we remain open to interact with you. When we say we don't speak French, in simple terms, is if you attended a space that was saying ambia Dennis Rumbi akuje hapa, and then there were words that were coming after, we're not going to have that language here. So let's hear from Juza Nikujuze. Let's learn something from you today, Juza.
Oh, thank you very much. How are you doing?
I am great. How is your Monday?
No, great. I can't complain. Nashukuru sana. Yes, all is well over here. Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. Now I have a few. I've listened to this to the ideas given, and I have a few things I would like to engage with. First, I think Diamonds said something about the constitution and the law, and I've also heard a lot from other people about the constitution and the law. The only correction, which I think is a very, very big and fundamental one, I'd give to Diamonds, is that the constitution didn't give us rights. If you look at the evolution of rights, the current belief is that some rights are inalienable. Yeah, I think that's the word, which means that these are God-given rights, and a constitution is only there to check government power, not to give us rights. These rights are God-given, and governments found us with these rights. They found us with the right to speak freely, the right to move freely, the right to engage with whoever you want freely, the right to associate with any and anyone, the right to use your labor and sell your labor, the right to produce from the land. These are not rights that are given to us. These are God-given rights. A constitution is there for only one reason: to check government power. So that is the only correction I would give. So now, from that engagement, we need to think of all these issues and the law as how far and how much do they limit the government, not how much they give us, but how much they limit the government. So the government should not be able to do some things to us and for us, right? Those things we can already do ourselves. We don't need the government to express ourselves freely. We don't. Now, as far as the freedom of expression is concerned, I don't think that should limit anything we do as far as activism is concerned. I think that's why the courts are there, to always expand on philosophy. For example, you'll find that juicy too in the US, there was a case where a baker was sued by a transgender couple who didn't who wanted the baker to bake them a cake, and the baker did not agree because they were Christian, and they said it's against my beliefs to make you a cake, and the case went to court. Now, I think it was last week, the baker won the case, I think in the Supreme Court, because a cake, the baking of the cake was found to be a freedom of expression issue. Your art was found to be a freedom of expression issue. One of the crazy things also about freedom of expression is that in the US, in the US, pornography is a freedom of expression issue. That's why it's legal. It's not legalized under pornography, it's legalized under freedom of expression. So freedom of expression is very, very expansive. And there's many things we can do in our attempt to educate ourselves and educate people and engage with the government and force them out, that can only be interpreted at that time. Not right now. The government can't tell us what freedom of expression is. At how are the limits? Some things they can only happen, and then sue or be sued, and then we find out, oh, this is a freedom of expression issue. So I don't think that should limit us in any way. For example, personally, I don't believe in hate speech. I don't believe there's anything like hate speech. I think the only limits to freedom of speech should be incitement to violence and, of course, defamation and libel. But there's nothing like hate speech, because hate speech as it exists, the word itself, hate speech cannot defined by the government. Now, who on earth wants the government to define hate speech? The government where you can't say Ruto must go. Who on earth would want the government to define hate speech? You know, that's why it's a very bad law, because every government will have its limits to what hate speech is. So, in my opinion, it should not exist. It should not exist. Outside the incitement to violence, it should not exist. Because Gladys Sholei said Ruto must go is treason. For heaven's sake. Which means these guys might want to take it seriously and actually start arresting people for saying Ruto must go. Yeah. So kwangu, as we're teaching each other and we're teaching things, I think since we have lawyers in these spaces, nafikiria we should, of course, without we should try to be as free as possible, so that some of these things can also be discussed openly. To siogope the law as it is right now, because yes, there are some things we agree are wrong, but for example, freedom of speech and freedom of expression, those are things zenye ni interpreted circumstance by circumstance, right? Because kama I remember the riot law that was being presented in parliament. The guy said the law as part of the law wanataka kuweka that you can't wear a mask or something that hides your face in public. Well, a mask, a kofia, or a balaclava in a protest situation is my freedom of expression. Is part of me trying to freely express myself in that protest. So that is something that can be open to interpretation, depending on the courts. So the law as it is right now should not limit us. Possible solutions. Niliona one of the reasons, nilikuwa nasoma some stories on misinformation and disinformation, and they were saying part of the reason it spreads, the biggest factor ni ukifikiria of social media as a pandemic model. So walikuwa na model how pandemic spread, and then they were trying to use that model on social media, and they were saying the best way to spread information is to engage not many, but the few most engagement worthy platforms. So if you spread information, if I try spread information to all of you, or I try spread information to one of us who has the biggest number of following with the biggest engagement, like they get the biggest engagement, comments, shares, and whatnot, it would be better for me to share my information with that one person than with all of you, because that one person will get more spreads over time. So one of the possible solution is to look at possible people we can even on social media, possible people we can engage with in each region. There must be a person in Coast who gets the most engagement either on TikTok or Nini, on TikTok or Twitter, comments, shares, reposts, whatever it is, and try talk to them directly, and then see whether we can share messages through these people. There must be such a person in Western, there must be such a person in Central, there must be such a person in, and try to see if we spread 47 messages to the most influential person in the 47 counties, can we reach 47 counties haraka on social media, and then think of how we can now translate that same model to the real world. Like if we invited these same people to a town hall, would people come to listen to them because they're there, and then try to extrapolate that and see how it works? Otherwise, asanteni sana.
Thank you, Juza. A good way, but I'm concerned. You suggest that we test the waters with both feet, the depth of the water with both feet. That is a bit of a risky one, but why not? As you say,
No.
like the impeachment situation we are dealing with, we want to see how far the constitution can, how the constitution can be interpreted. So it's not a bad thing per se. I actually say testing on a light note, don't exactly mean that, but yeah, allow me to read some of the comments that have been put across. I think it's important we also have the engagements taken care of. But you can always come back up and speak. Eli, with your permission, let me read the comments. So I have, sorry, there we go. So the first one, this from the Godfather, I think he had said freedom of expression is protected under Article 33 of the Constitution, but it's not absolute. There are clear limits, especially when it comes to incitement, hate speech, defamation, or hate or speech that it's a bit of a lengthy one, but this creates complex balance between advocating for change and avoiding actions that could be considered treasonous. Then there was Joe had said the penal code lacks morality and a place in our society. We only have one law, the Constitution of Kenya. Then treason is not law in Kenya, and any law that talks about treason can be challenged by our Constitution as long as the action has defense from the Constitution. Andrew said, I digress. Not all Kenyans forget. We are not confrontative, been proven. We choose to retreat. Not all violence is sponsored by money. Some are based on obsessions. Hence, the most popularized strategy is mtu wetu, tunatengwa, tuko kwa government rhetoric. Then you have New Horizon, that's PW Gitahi. He had said there are many methods of advocacy. First, through peaceful demonstration, through court of law, through petitions in parliament, through civil disobedience like economic boycott. And also Andrew Owl went to say the Speaker of the National Assembly claimed that language evolves, words are open to interpretation. As such, it depends on the intended outcome. I can claim artistic creativity, makang, etc., or it can be placed as hate speech or incitement. Jamakalda said sometime freedom of expression is authoritative. Freedom of expression in authoritative environment has costs. Then A003, that's Kikunda Marangu, said diplomacy before war. And Andrew came back again to say the Constitution looks at a suggestion, implement it fully. The laws aren't followed by the ruling class and the enforcers. Then he went on to say, when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. So, yeah, that's it, Mizani, in terms of the comments. I don't know who's next, who should have been next, or we back to you, Mizani.
Yeah, I would love to have the sleeping co-host say something.
I realize that whenever I'm co-host, and I tend not to have the full powers, and this is something that I'm going to challenge after the space. I need to have freedom of expression, so I'll challenge this. Anyway, one thing I want to talk about is we talk so much about the limitations to the freedom of expression, but I also wish we understand why those limitations are there in the first place, and also wish to inform us that these limitations are actually not even for us. Because if you look at the time we were coming up with the 2010 Constitution, we were just from 2007 post-election violence. And one of the inciters to the post-election violence was, you see, propaganda, incitement, hate speech, and things like that, incited violence in 2007. And after that, who was actually indicted for these crimes? It is the political class. No common mwananchi was indicted, apart from the guy in media, something like that. But the people who were indicted for the post-election violence were the political class. So these limitations to this freedom of expression was put there in line with being alive to the fact that we were from a post-election violence of 2007, and some of the causes of that post-election violence were propaganda by the political class, incitement to violence by the political class. So these limitations that are stipulated in Article 33, Part 2, are supposed to not limit us in expressing ourselves, but actually these laws are meant for the political class. I mean, that is just my ideology. But if you look at this constitution clearly, that the constitution we gave ourselves in 2010, there is no chapter, from the first chapter to the 18th chapter of this constitution, that actually directly speaks to the people. It always directly speaks to the governing authority. It has clearly stipulated to them all the roles that they need to all their roles. It always asks them that anything, if you look at chapter 8, legislative authority, Constitution says Article 94, it derives from the people. Executive authority derives from the people. Judicial authority derives from the people. It always refers to the people. And this constitution, we give ourselves in line with what Obed had talked about, 24 years of Moi rule. When we're giving ourselves this constitution, it was a balance of power. Just like I said earlier, we are balancing the power that we have delegated, we have donated to the representatives, because they can use them against us. They have the machineries, as people like to say, they have the police on their side. They have the, I don't know, any other machinery that they have, they can try to use, and they always do that. We've seen excess use of force on protesters. They do that. We just need to find a way of calling them to order, because the law, it is us who have written the law and given ourselves this law to govern us, but to limit them on the excesses that they can commit. So them, in this particular instance, is the governing body, the governing authority. So this law is actually not for us. It is to the governing authority. I have a problem with the penal code. The penal code is actually laws that have been there from the colonial times and all that, and they always are against the people. And that's why I have said in the comment section that the penal code lacks morality in our current society. But the 2010 constitution, this is the law. This law followed clearly, you'll find that they, and when I say they in this instance, the governing authority, do not have as much rights as the people do. Let me rest my case there.
You are claiming you don't have powers, and see clearly how you've used your powers. Nearly abused them in quotes. So thank you so much. Actually, and that's really the essence of all this conversation, because at the end of the day, the power that the political class are exercising is donated. It's on our behalf, because not all of us can be in that position. And because of that, we have the right of recall and a responsibility to demand for accountability from their end. It is exactly 10 p.m. Nairobi time, or East African time. We have 30 minutes to the end of the space. Wendy, I see your hand is up. I will allow you to speak, and I'd have the rest of the team, the people on the speaker, unless there's a new speaker, to also have if there's some additions to make or some points to clarify as we close down the space. Wendy?
Thanks, Obed. And Joe, when we began, I think tulikuwa na tumewasha moto. It was a bit yeah, but but now I can say upewe moja pamoja na juza nikujuze on my bill, mpewe moja, because I think now you're speaking to the points. I think juza nikujuze. What you said about the constitution and checking government power, and I think in my opinion, the drafters of the constitution were influenced by anxieties of past experiences. So again, the way Obed, you said, the Moi regime, and to ensure that everything is in writing. And that's why you can see, as some people try to fight it, the constitution is fighting back. And then I think again, Juza Nikujuze, you mentioned again a fundamental point that about the rights of a person that are inherently linked to their humanity simply by virtue of existing. So as long as you exist, the rights inherently linked to you. And then again, the real Joe, sorry, again, wonderful points you said about propaganda. And I think in the criminal tribunal for Rwanda, there was this individual Lakayesu, and there's a wonderful judgment about propaganda, but the state has a monopoly of violence, and they can implement a systemic call to violence. Me, for example, if I said don't drink water, no one will listen. But if political figures were to speak, they have the ability to to call for widespread violence. And so before you'd said responsible citizenship, but it's more a call to responsible leadership. And then again, I echo your points that the penal code is a legal transplant from India. This penal code from the 20s that was imported to the colonies, and it's mostly shaped by Victorian notions of what is moral. And then I think, as I learned, and my final point of tonight, someone said diplomacy before war. I agree. As Kajudas Mark, he sold them for 30 shekels again, said hatutaki kuchoma nchi. But I think we are getting to the point of we've exhausted what everything that we can do. So what next? And I think again, as you said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I think maybe again, like when we got independence, when we got the 2010 constitution, perhaps Obed, you'd asked about a revolution. And so on the other side of the revolution, maybe we should reflect on ourselves as a society. When maybe we get the Kenya we want, TMP, you'd said it might take a lifetime. When we eventually get the Kenya we want, will we be ready for it? Will we be ready to govern? I think the Mau Mau didn't have the skills to govern. The 2010 constitution, again, we saw the two individuals. Whether or not they can govern, it's not up to me. So when we get the Kenya we want, will you be able to govern and live up to what we fought for? Thanks, Obed, and thanks, Eli.
Thank you, Wendy. You ask a very fundamental question, but then that makes me wonder, people as eloquent as you and very intelligent people in this space who are canvassing issues that are very pertinent, where will you be when that time comes? Let's hope we can be able at least to have you, because you want to see and live the change that you're talking about. Juza, I want to give you an opportunity. I feel like I probably interrupted your conversation. So please, I give you 3 minutes to be able to canvass whatever issue that you have in mind. I go to TMP in that order as we close this.
Thank you very much. Yeah, what Wendy said is very important, and you've raised a very important issue at the end, which I think is the most important thing that can be discussed. Is where will you be? Where will you and I be? I think that's the most important question we can ask ourselves, because again, the change of we have two big problems. We have, first of all, we have to think about the political leadership that we have, and then also there's the administrative branch that we need to think about. It's as big or even bigger than the government, than the political leadership. For example, your politician has power, yes, but for example, in law enforcement, NTSA can impound your car just as much as the police can. That's a big confusion in law. So all these institutions that have been given power, they also need to be checked, because they create rules, they create new law every day. So we need people to occupy the technical aspects of government as much as the political elements of government. They're just as important, because the government will need to run at the end of the day. So where will you and I be? Now, I believe that leadership is created, and we can start by our very own small steps every day. So, for example, Obama was a community organizer, right? Was a community organizer before he rose to the Senate and then president. The question is, what can we do in our immediate localities to nurture the skills we have, to grow them, and to start organizing? Because at the end of the day, we need to start organizing. And it needs to happen in a big way. I mean, kama waganga wanapatanga organizers wa kuweka flyers all over Nairobi, it can't be an impossible task. Waganga wa Makueni hawezi tushinda, you know. So they plant flowers in every electric pole in the country if they can find it. Yeah. So I'm assuming flyers haziwezi tulemea. If I was to do 100 flyers a day, hata mama, Mama Baraka. You know what I'm saying. At the end of the day, there's a way we can nurture our leadership skills and get ourselves out there. Get ourselves out there. And the easiest way I can find is to, I don't know who writes very good Swahili or where we can start with civic education, but where I live kuna a marketplace na inajanga sana every jioni 5 p.m. 5 p.m. to around 8 p.m. If there was a way to get a pamphlet every week written in a language I can explain of a simple concept that we would like to let the people know, then that I think is something I can do or someone can do to start distributing information pole pole, because there are radio guys, there are Twitter guys, there are TV guys, and there's word of mouth guys, right? And all of these people need to be reached. I can be reached on Twitter, someone else can be reached best by word of mouth. So these are real efforts I think we need to start thinking about. And Obed, that's something I'm going to sleep on. That's something I'm going to sleep on, and I hope someone sleeps on it as well. Ndo tujiulize, are we sleeping on real leadership here in ourselves? Are we sleeping on real leadership here? And how can we nurture it? Thank you.
Thank you, Juza. And actually, your joke about Waganga defeating us reminds me of people having the capacity to admit to infidelity, but never confess to loving gossip. And which is problematic because gossip starts, and it is probably what we need to do more in terms of spreading civic education. Kenyans love, how do I call it? We love theatrics, we love drama. So sometimes if we disseminate this information in the form of gossip, maybe it will go further and quicker than it would be when we do it conventionally. It's just my take. TMP, what do you think? What's your comments?
That is actually very, very funny, but I mean, we need all ideas. So I just wanted to take you around the merry-go-round a little bit. And I want to start here. You see, the main reason why this whole thing was as natural as it was is because these issues are issues that began affecting everyone, not just alone the Gen Zs. And I think also one of the things that went wrong that time is just narrowing down to a certain generation, because this good governance affects every generation across. So right now we have three categories of people. We have the rich, we have the middle class, and we have the poor. The bigger percentage of people is living below average. And then in the middle class, we have the lower middle class, and then we have the middle class, comfortable, and then we have the higher class, higher middle class. So these two categories of people in the middle class are people who are at very big risk when it comes to things like our health care. When we have a healthcare that is not working, if you're young like me, for instance, and you think about the kind of future you're gonna have, then it becomes something else. You get scared because already it's clear the system is not working, which gets me to think 104 billion on developing a system that still has problems. Do you know what 104 billion is? So that is another problem that we have, and we need a lot of accountability. So this whole issue has blown up. And you see, the thing that we need to do more is have many Kenyans make it their business. Mind it. How does it impact them? Right now, in a country like ours, with the kind of healthcare we have, and then we're having issues like, uh, you know, mpox still being brought around. Things like people being given a vaccine, this one for polio, and then transforming into a disease. I work in the medical sector, you know, and you wonder such crisis, our teachers are not paid. Actually, the next crisis we're going to have is universities shutting down because they cannot operate anymore, which is already visible. So these problems scare our future.
And that is why we need to do a lot of things. We need everyone. And you see, we have at our disposal the local media. Yet, let me tell you, if you're to do a statistics right now, most citizens, most Kenyans are still glued their eyes on Citizen and NTV, at least families that do have this. You know, as we've already established, a bigger percentage is on the poor people, you know, below average. That is where most people are living. So we need to pass this information in whatever means. And this is also our opportunity to create a system that works. You know, June 25th, we had a very good system. You know, lawyers were working together, doctors were working together. You know, when someone would drop their phone for the first time, I saw that video that was going around. A certain guy had dropped his phone, and the guy just picked and passed it down as they were being tear gassed. You know, it displayed a lot of humanity. And I still believe we can translate that. I agree with, who was it? Eli Koyane, what he said. We can create that system. We can have that conversation. And you see, when I talk about advocacies, we can beat them. You know, we have freedom. Yet, what I would suggest is a change of how we're doing things. You know, we've been doing it like going demonstrating without real issues. What about this time round when if it's a demonstration like Eli Lukayani has said, you know, have a sit down and then people can raise issues of their particular areas. And then with this happening in all different counties and, you know, people discussing their different issues, and then, you know, you're able to raise issues and even identify key projects that each county wants, you know, me in a different county trying to speak for someone else in a different county, then it doesn't make sense because I don't really understand what their priorities are. I could say I want them, for instance, let me say I talk for a county like West Pokot. I'm saying West Pokot needs roads, yet what probably they need much is water and security to begin with. Roads, yes, could be a priority. So we have all these things laid out and give them an ultimatum. We need to realize how much power we hold, and we need to be able to give them, offer them the solutions and alternative for this whole thing. You know, this is what we're offering instead. This is a counter offer, because honestly, it's scary with, you know, the healthcare, JKIA to think about it, our Kenya Power system, and so many other things, and the level of corruption and lack of accountability, not just, you know, in the political sector, but even in administrative, in different organ. You know, it's translating to every other area. Not even the counties are not working. You find a county, 3 months, the county level hospital has been shut down. The residents of Meru County right now, 3 months without the hospital operational. And these things still, many people are not aware of them. Yet we have the local media, but we're still glued on TVs talking about impeachment, which is clearly a distraction. So we have the local media, we have local stations. We can make it their business, or rather, it has to be everyone's business. Like I said, you cannot agitate for change if you yourself are not willing to change. And part of change is being able to sit down and accept that we are totally different. But at the end of the day, if we want the same Kenya, then we must be able to accommodate each other and the different efforts that everyone is making in their different capacities, you know? And that is why I think we need to drop this whole point of pointing at particular someone and wanting to hold them accountable, you know, for them to do this. They're not, one person cannot change us. One person cannot save us, let me tell you. The problem, or rather this whole thing, is so much deep. I'll stop at that. Sorry, I've spoken so much.
Thank you, TMP. Very good view. And I think it's important that everyone, it has to be all hands on deck. It's never going to be a one-person show, because the biggest problem is that a lot of us Kenyans have outsourced that responsibility of fighting and, you know, demanding for change to heroes in the ring, a few of them. And when they come up we realize they have weaknesses, and then we stone them, then we look for another one. It's probably why we are struggling with this. I think, Wendy, you had made your conclusion. I'm looking at what's your take, Marabu Stocks?
Am I coming through?
100%.
Well, the most protected law in America is the Second Amendment, and this is the right to bear arms. And the reason why it is protected is because the American Constitution realizes that at one point the government might become unruly. It might stop representing the people. Therefore, it accords the people the right to bear arms to protect itself in case the government becomes unruly. This law has never been tampered with. Even the current political debates that are going on in America, Kamala Harris and Trump, nobody can dare talk about the Second Amendment. What is the most important law in Kenya? The writ of habeas corpus. We have seen it being quashed. The other day, a judge was asking for suspects to be brought to court, and this did not happen. Treason, we have seen it in 1982, and the person who was suspected of treason right now is part of government. So, apart from looking at the laws, we must look at history and understand the consequences. Treason is only treason when you fail, but when you succeed, you form the next government. And going by the knowing that no human being wants the worst for himself, anybody who can be termed as treasoners today will be celebrated as a hero tomorrow. Our Mau Mau heroes who we are going to be celebrating on the 20th when we come together were treasoners, but today we celebrate them as the heroes of our liberation. So let's learn from history and not take some words to be very heavy, yet they really mean nothing. The most important thing is that every man has a right to defend his destiny. Every man has a right to protect his property. And every man has a right to speak, to assemble. And if this right is being curtailed by any law or by any system, that system is repugnant to natural justice and should not be adhered to. History has taught us that. So we choose to make history or live by the laws made by the oppressors. Thank you very much for the time. Good night. God bless.
Thank you so much, Marabu. Quite very profound, very nice listening to you. The real Joe, I've given you power to express or have your freedom of expression start here. And please, let's have a conversation after the conversation.
Thank you, Obed. You're giving me powers, but seems like someone is working behind the scenes to ensure that these powers are not working for me. I like I said, I'm going to petition Mizani to ensure that next time my rights are protected. Having said that, there are things that we've discussed today, and I love the conversation that we've had today. It's always a mature conversation in Mizani space. One thing that I wish to also state, just like Marabux has said, we are not, and this is part of my activism, we are not exercising our powers directly when we invoke Article 37. In fact, it is our right. And like I said previously, rights, every state, whether it is the state, whether it is the judiciary, they are bound by the rights that we have. I like what someone said, that these rights they are not given to us by the states. They were given to us by God. But the Constitution that just affirms them. The Constitution affirms them because we have had previous rulers who have tried to limit us from these rights, freedom of expression, even association, even assembly. During Moi era, we've been limited to this. The Constitution now puts it in writing. These are our rights. But when we invoke them, we are not exercising our powers directly. When we invoke Article 104 to recall our members of parliament, we are not exercising our powers directly. Just like Marabux has said, the Second Amendment in the US Constitution is the most important. For us, the most important is Article 1. Just like the Second Amendment, I said previously that this is the reset button. Whenever we feel that the delegated sovereign power does not reflect the will of the people, we press the reset button. The Constitution has given us so many avenues of dealing with this, but when all those avenues fail, the Constitution does not limit the people in any way. The Constitution is there to put things in writing and bring order between the governing and the governed. In fact, it is the governed who are directly being actually talked to in this Constitution. It is them who are being reminded about the sovereignty of the people. It is them who are being reminded about the republic and even the principles of governance. It is them who are being told about citizenship and what it means to be a citizen. It is them who are being told about the rights that Kenyans have. It is them who are being told about our land and environment. It is them. Leadership is all about them. It is them who need to have integrity for them to attain leadership. It is them. All the roles that are there under legislation and executive and judiciary, it is them. It is always about them. It is them. These laws are for them. The only role that the people have to play is just to ensure that these laws are abided to. And that is why sometimes we have activism. I feel that with the current constitution as constituted from 2010, we would not have had activism like the way we had during Moi's era, because the constitution is clear. The problem we've had is that the same faces that were mentored by Moi, the same ideology, is the same regimes that we've had. Uhuru regime, Moi fronted Uhuru in 2002. Ruto was from YK. Even Raila joined KANU at some point. It is the same people. And therefore, it is difficult to implement this constitution with the old faces in our governance system. And that is what the young people are outrightly coming out to question. It does not end now, like someone had said. It is the beginning. To clean up this mess, we have to do a lot of work. And therefore, that is why people are still actively involved in activism. It is a marathon, like someone insinuated, but it is achievable. We need to be consistent. But the most important is to, and this is a role that I have taken up myself and I do it in my own way, is to enlighten as many Kenyans as possible about the 2010 constitution. Because during the time of coming up with this constitution, the political class read it for them and just told them it is good, vote for it, and they voted for it. But right now we need to make the people understand what is actually the content of this constitution. You will realize once the people understand this content, once the people understand our constitution and the laws, then that is the game changer for us. Let me leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you, the real Joe. And thank you, everyone. Nice to see Auntie Rosemary here. I have seen Redemptor and I've seen Lavani. Nice to see all of you. I recognize them because of the work that they're doing. And thank you so much for everybody taking your time to be here. Everyone who's contributed, We are grateful. Those who've listened, you still made a contribution in this space. It might not be the most catchy subject, but the intention is to always try to deal with issues that plague our country. I do appreciate the desire and the intentions that we have as a people. But the truth is, we must get into the ring. We must do that. We are not going to want a few people. The Messiah mentality that we have is part of the problem we are suffering today. I pray and ask that let everybody in their own way, in their own capacity, in their own expertise, make a contribution. When the Mau Mau were fighting in the forest, women were carrying food and risking their lives to go and give them food and carry guns and give them. This is important. There is no one who is not important in a situation that we find ourselves in. If we continue sitting on our laurels, this government, as it is clawing back every democratic step that we have made, and things are working backwards. Let us not allow them to do this. Let them sit uncomfortable knowing that people are not happy, and consistently remind them that we, the people, are the sovereign, not them. They have delegated power, and we have the right and responsibility to take it from them and govern directly. It's not easy because they are seated in a place of eating. They are in a paradise for them. They have an opportunity to eat, and they're going to plunder the resources. But that is only if we let them do that. We should consistently remind them that they are on borrowed time and for a term. Let them know that whatever happens, what is important right now, IBC should be reconstituted. We need to start to actively engage, and let's try to win one person at a time. And we shall do well. But Kenyans, I request, we need to stop loving theatrics and deal with the real issues. If the political class is fighting, let them kill each other. If that's what it takes. But let us not lose focus and sight of what it is. Mizani, I've given you very little time to be able to make your point. However, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and this was a wonderful conversation. And thank you, everyone who contributed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Obes. Just give me 100% that you can hear me. And we do appreciate all of you for coming on the space. You're doing me a disservice. I love respecting people's time. I had so much to share, but I do want to thank each and every one of you who made time to be here. We don't take it for granted. All the newcomers, feel free to join the big family of Mizani 254. I see names that I want to drop, and just appreciate all of you. We have Collins Odhiambo, thank you for being here. We have KD, thank you for joining us. Winnie Alteze, thank you for being here. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Mkalimani, Auntie Rosemary, as profoundly mentioned by Obeds, we do appreciate you. We do have Maggie. Maggie, thank you for making time and just joining the space, listening in. I think Obeds, if you recollect well, she has been one of the most contributors by staying in and listening every time we turn on these mics. So we don't take that for granted. I would have mentioned most of you, but I'm told I'm out of clock. And because we have had an opportunity to work on radio, we cannot pay the bills on our own. Listen in. This is what created our conversation this evening.
Unless we do something controversial, unless we storm parliament, unless we shoot someone in the head, unless we stone these people, unless we burn them alive, unless we show them that we are angry and it's not business as usual.
A profile. Like the man arrested in Oxford for calling a police horse gay. Or the teenager arrested for calling the Church of Scientology a cult. Or the cafe owner arrested for displaying passages from the Bible on a TV screen. When I heard of some of these more ludicrous offenses and charges, I remembered that I had been here before in a fictional context. I once did a show called Not the 9 O'Clock News some years ago, and we did a sketch where Griff Rhys Jones played Constable Savage. a manifestly racist police officer to whom I, as his station commander, is giving a dressing down for arresting a black man on a whole string of ridiculous, trumped up and ludicrous charges.
Thank you very much. For those of you wondering what just happened there, there's a gentleman who suggested Kenya needs to go very radical if you have to have any change. And there is this British actor, Rowan Atkinson, somebody will call them Johnny Englishman or Mr. Bean. He thinks that freedom of speech should be free in itself, and no amount of insult should make those in power feel attacked. It's actually people calling you to behave. Maybe, just maybe, we need to have an assignment and take some notes with Francis Gaido. Having said that, have yourselves a great evening. My name is Likuyani Eli. See you on Sunday as we look forward into Mashujaa Day. Anything to celebrate? I don't know. And for those of you who could not get the mics, we do apologize. We are out of time. Until next time, this is Mizani 254, where the scales of balance are restored and meaningful conversations thrive. Good night, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all of you.